All right, everybody, good morning. Supervisors to the oh, guys are already up here already. So, all right, we have a lot on the agenda today, and obviously a lot of folks here to be able to provide comment and to speak out to the board. I wanted to ask, I know we have a lot of generally staff seating in the back. We don't often end up filling up this room, and I think that is a fantastic sign. Thank you for coming here on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. During a rainy day. It is not the easiest time or spot to do. I wanted to ask if there's any staff who don't need to be in here right now. I think we've already moved some out. If we're able to do oral communications, and then we can bring everybody back in. That way we can make some space, particularly if we have any folks who are elderly and any of our seniors here to make sure that they have a spot. So, good morning, everybody. It's 9:03 a.m. We're going to call the Board of Supervisors, Tuolumne County meeting to order. We have quite a bit on the agenda today. We have a number of appointments as well. And begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to tag in Supervisor Mike Holland. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. All right. All right, everybody. So we'll be moving into oral communications. This is public comment for any item that is not currently on the agenda. I want to remind that we do have an item for budget later on the agenda, so that'd be appropriate time to comment on anything under that scope. Overall, I wanted to lay out a few things. One, public comment, oral communications. Is that a button from my? Is that a button come flying? Yeah, boy, yeah. One is that
gesture too wildly.
Public communication or oral communications is a time for you to be able to speak to us, to petition to us, anything that's not on the agenda and on your mind. Normally we have about 15 minutes set aside for this in a meeting. I think it's going to be substantially longer than that today, and that's a good thing because we really want to have you here. At the end of the day, we serve you. I want to call for, as much as we can, kindness and respect. I know that there are a lot of folks here, particularly in the incident of the hate crime that's happened within our community. And I believe as of this morning, 3 arrests were made, as was announced in the Union Democrat. And that was a moment to get out something, too, that to make sure kindness and respect for the speakers and their time to be able to be here goes always. And as much as we can to avoid any type of jeering or to avoid any type of applause and to respect speakers' opinions, anyway, even if we disagree with them, is incredibly important during this time. So I ask for that. Please let us be able to go through with it. I also want to say that since there's been a lot of attention to this, I know that the county and the board and myself, we've been in touch with state legislators about the issue in particular there. Law enforcement's also issued a statement as well. So I just wanted to clarify that this is something that is definitely brought up for attention. So with that, I'm going to be opening up oral communications, and I'd like to invite 2 folks in particular to begin that. First with, believe, Maureen McPoland of Cal Pride, and then Mary Smith, I believe, is victim's representative in the audience as well. And then we'll move it to a general opening.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Morgan Rain, and I come here today in my capacity as the Executive Director of Cal Pride Sierras and as a terrified member of the LGBTQ+ community. The violent act that transpired in Jamestown last week goes far beyond the victim, beyond Jamestown, and beyond Tuolumne County, which is why I'm here today to ask for a resolution to be introduced and passed to condemn LGBTQ+ violence. With all eyes on us as neighboring cities and counties watch with a shared culture and population, will we call out this disgusting hate and set a precedent that discrimination, that premeditated hate, that violence against the queer community is unacceptable and not welcome here? Will you address this targeted act, which, let's be clear, exclusively happened because of this victim's identity, and let the local community begin to heal? In the past, this board has passed Pride Month proclamations helping show that this county is a place where everyone belongs and deserves to feel safe. This act of violence is a prime example of why every year our community comes together to ask for a resolution for Pride Month. Because even with rainbow merchandise hitting the shelves in June, hate crimes have continued to increase annually for the last decade. I would like to thank the Tuolumne County Sheriffs for seeing this for what it is and labeling it a hate crime during their investigation, because it brings validity to the fears and cries that our local queer community has been calling out for years. This hate crime was a violent and extreme act, but it is far from the first time it has happened here. The response to this act in the queer community has been anger but not shock. I've had dozens of calls from past queer Tuolumne residents calling to say that this is why they left this area and that they fear that it will never change. I helped start the organization I work for due to the targeting I saw of the local queer community, and I've been doing this work full-time for 3 years now and can speak firsthand to the impact of the emboldened hate going unaddressed. The disproportionately high targeting of us has caused LGBTQ+ youth self-harm and suicide rates to skyrocket, for lifelong residents to move somewhere they feel safer, and for those of us to stay to feel the need to look over our shoulders when we go out, feeling unsafe if we go downtown to get a drink, feeling nervous to come speak out during public events, and that our lives could be at risk while doing something as simple as meeting a new person. Addressing LGBTQ+ violence is not giving us special treatment nor dividing us into groups. It does not mean we are ignoring other communities that are affected by hate crimes or violent acts. This is a way the board can strengthen the commitment to denouncing all forms of hate and violence and showing the local queer community that Tuolumne County is here for them. Ignoring this hate crime or moving forward without a condemning of this targeting of the community will affirm those who align with the aggressor and can empower those who wish us harm to also carry out their own violent acts. Please take today's comments into consideration and into your hearts to stand with our community and with the victim and with their family. To anyone here today or watching at home, know that myself and CalPride is here for you, and to please reach out if you need moral or peer support, and know that you're not alone.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Smith, and I'm here today on behalf of Charles Smith, who is representing the victim in the vicious beating that occurred in Jamestown last week. Charles is in court this morning and unable to attend himself, and he apologizes for that. I'm speaking with the full consent of the victim, his family, and his attorney, and they have approved my statement. For those unfamiliar with the criminal justice system, victims have a legal right to representation by an attorney to advocate for and help them through the emotionally difficult, exhausting, and oftentimes confusing processes of investigations and prosecutions, and to speak on their behalf at any and all court proceedings involving the person being prosecuted for harming them. The victim, his family, and Charles have the utmost faith that the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Department, under the direction of Sheriff David Vasquez, and the District Attorney's Office, under the direction of District Attorney Cassandra Janicki, will handle this case with the care and attention it needs, and we look forward to working with both agencies to help facilitate a successful prosecution of the perpetrators of this violent and heinous crime. The victim was contacted through an app by another adult man who he thought he could build a friendship with based upon the shared and sometimes lonely experience of being a gay man in a small town. Instead of meeting a potential new friend, he was lured to a location where he was brutally beaten for the sole reason that he is gay. Any statement to the contrary is an obvious and disgusting attempt to justify gay bashing, and I hope that no one hearing me today makes space in their head or heart for such ugly, hateful, inflammatory, and patently false information. This community and this board need to make a clear and unequivocal stand that we will not tolerate hate, we will not tolerate bullying, we will not tolerate vigilantism of any kind, and that we will support the vigorous prosecution backed by the full force of the criminal justice system of those who are willing to attack people because of who they love and how they identify. The victim and his family are deeply appreciative of and touched by the outpouring of support they have received from this community. It is their hope that we as Tuolumne County residents move forward in love, kindness, and grace towards one another, regardless of our differences. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you. And very quickly, since we have a lot of people, we'll be using a little bit of an abnormal procedure, but I know that a lot of folks have shown up to express support. In the interest of time, and I want to say we have, as you have read the agenda, a lot on the stake for our department heads. We also have a 10 a.m. appointment as well with candidates waiting. In the interest of time, I wanted to offer the opportunity to everybody in the audience at this point to be able to stand up if you are here in support of those statements and those folks on that issue. I'm going to pause to recognize this. All right, thank you. So while we do not want to restrict anybody's ability to provide a public comment up here at the beginning, and please feel free if you do need to speak with this, if this is something you'd like to share, you are more than welcome. But please hope that that is something to be able to show that you are heard, you are seen by your elected officials in the county on this issue. And again, thank you for showing up today. So we'll resume back with normal oral communications.
My name is Sabrina Beal. I work at Clark Broadcasting. These views are my own and not those of my employer. I have managed mymotherlode.com, the local community website. I have managed their social media, and I live in Mike Holland's district in Tuolumne County. Valentine's Day is approaching, a time when many seek companionship, forging connections through modern means available to them. Dating apps have become a primary way people meet, build relationships, and in the best cases, find love. But in our own community, someone looking for that connection was lured under false pretenses, violently beaten, so severely injured that he had to be transported out of our county for medical care. I learned about this attack on a public forum that I frequent. Among the 147 comments, the majority condemned this act of cruelty, an encouraging sign that decency prevails. Since 2006, I have observed a growing shift in the public discourse. There are more voices that are speaking out against hate rather than tolerating it. When the arrest was announced, 90 more comments followed, mostly reaffirming our community's moral stance against violence. But even in that chorus of condemnation, there were those emboldened enough to suggest a round two, cloaking their intentions in thinly veiled dog whistles. Make no mistake, hate crimes have happened in Tuolumne County before, and they're likely to happen again. And evil is not who we are. Tuolumne County must be a place where all individuals, regardless of identity, can live without fear. We need diversity and inclusion, not as empty buzzwords, but as fundamental principles of a just and free society. As long as California stands as an independent force against the rising tides of intolerance, we must continue to uphold and protect the rights of LGBTQ+ individuals in our community. The principles that founded this nation make our duty clear. The Declaration of Independence affirms that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence further teaches us that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right it themselves. We must resist the temptation to accept suffering as the status quo. When injustice occurs, silence is complicity. I stand before you and ask the board to take a clear, unequivocal stance. We must formally declare that Tuolumne County is a place where LGBTQ people are safe. A resolution that supports that does not blur legal lines. It does not shield any of those who prey on others. It does not enable deception in any form. Rather, it denounces the very kind of deceit and harms that allows predators to exist and exploit the trust and for violence to go unchecked.
Thank you. And if I may, really quick, and again, with related to any applause or any jeering with it as public expression as well, because we have to be open and content neutral to it. We certainly wouldn't want to allow that if somebody was booing or attacking. We want to make sure that we're focusing on what the speakers are able to say, and hopefully not doing that as much as possible. So I know that is a bit of a buzzkill, and we want to be supportive, and I appreciate everybody's patience with that.
Good morning, supervisors. I don't have prepared remarks. I'm not as eloquent as some of the previous speakers have been, I have multiple friends that are gay. I have a family member that is transgender, and these folks are terrified, absolutely terrified. They don't feel safe, understandably so. I grew up in the church, and I know that multiple members of our community are also churchgoers, and I have heard some of them saying, love the sinner, hate the sin. I don't understand how you can separate that. If I tell him no cookies after dinner and my child reaches in the cookie jar, okay, that's a minor sin. How can you separate the sin from the sinner, and how can you see that as a sin? They are merely expressing their right. Anaya Kirk, Mr. Kirk, you are my supervisor. I'd like to address a couple of comments directly to you. I don't know you two gentlemen very well. But Mr. Kirk, in your June 2022 comments about why you voted no on Pride, I'm wondering if at some point you would clarify your status and thoughts on that. It seemed to me, from my limited understanding, you were basically saying that Pride should be a First Amendment right, and that people have the right to say that they are proud that they are gay, transgender, LGBTQ plus otherwise. And I'm wondering at some point if you could clarify your statements. There seems to be a lot of confusion online about that. I would also like you perhaps to just think about, I don't know if you want to make a public statement, where you come down on DEI and them being erased. Anybody as a person who needs any equitable treatment and has been marginalized in the past, they are being wiped clean off of President Trump's vast network and everything that he controls. And I'm just wondering if you at some point might want to comment where you stand on that. If something came up in front of the Board of Supervisors, would you support erasing DEI, or would you support it? Do you come down more on the side of President Trump or Governor Newsom? I thank you for your time. I thank Sheriff Vasquez's diligent treatment of this vile offense and his kind words towards the community. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wendy Archer, and I'm here on behalf of the Social Justice Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Tuolumne County.
Thank you.
Thank you. You recently received an email from one of our members regarding our strong support for renewing the Camp Justice project when this pilot year ends in June. I hope you had a chance to read the very informative referenced article from mymotherlode.com on December 26 by Phil Higginbotham, who was recently named 2024 Tuolumne County Citizen of the Year for his work on trash removal in the county. I think we all recognize the nationwide increasing homelessness problem. Communities have implemented various plans to try to deal with problems created in their areas. Camp Justice is a good plan for Tuolumne County. It has provided approximately 35 campsites for folks who would otherwise likely be camping in the woods, where the possibility of starting a forest fire is a huge concern for all of us, as well as toilet needs being taken care of in the woods near homes. At Camp Justice, residents are able to use a porta potty, dispose of trash responsibly in a dumpster. They are within walking distance of shopping options, medical resources, and job possibilities. And there is a bus stop right there for access to more distant locations. Lest you think, wow, providing a free campground. Wait until people hear about this. We'll have lots of freeloaders. Please go visit if you have not been there. This is scalped ground with a porta potty and one water spigot. Initially, the residents were required to move all their belongings, including their tents, every week for a few hours to a separate designated area while the county came in and rescalped, cleared the ground. However, due to their diligent self-policing of trash, they're now only required to move everything once a month. I have been there several times while this takes place, as our fellowship provides coffee, snacks, and a little company to hang out with during these times. The residents are very grateful for the space to live, hopefully temporarily, and the stories of why they are currently unhoused often remind me of how fortunate I have been throughout my life to not be in their shoes. According to Phil's article, social workers who gathered statistics on the residents that come and go found that 90% have lived in Tuolumne County 5 years or more, and 80% have lived here most or all of their lives. I think this has been a good and well-implemented plan to give a hand up to community members in need and urge you to apply for the grants or whatever it takes to continue Camp Justice. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your email to the board as well. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. Todd Stolp, prior health officer. I believe I'm bringing a simple matter to you today. It relates to an article in the Union Democrat 2 weeks ago, but it also relates to what's already been presented by the other speakers. The article described budget deliberations in which department heads were asked to propose 15% reductions in their budgets, with the exception of public safety departments. And listed in the public safety departments are the sheriff's office, all cost centers, the DA's office, public defender, probation department, juvenile hall, and animal control, with the conspicuous absence of public health. I'm here to ask that public health be recognized as a public safety department.
I apologize. I've got legal counsel in my ear that it's going into what is the budgeted item, what would you have on the agenda? And so this is for anything not on the agenda. It's okay, Mr. Stoll.
Very
Sorry.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm grateful for the courage that it's taken for you to balance the budget, and I can't then say anything more about the budget or the vocabulary that's being used. Let's go to the vocabulary. I think that would be okay, in the sense that it's inconceivable to me that the Public Health Department not be considered a non-public health department, or a non-public safety department, excuse me. Although I think vocabulary can attest to underlying values, I think that they also can mold public opinion.
Yeah.
Vocabulary can mold public opinion?
I'm getting the whisper again, too. So if we're mentioning again, since we have specifically the budgets, all the departments, the public safety,
Yes.
That's all within that. If we open it up for any comment right now on that, then we're going to end up with two. So
Let me just say then, in completing what I have to say
please
today,
finish your thought.
that the vocabulary can be weaponized, examples being entitlements, gender, DEI, and we have to look at how we use vocabulary and how we categorize our departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Did you make everyone happy yet? I'm sure you really realized that I was joking when I said that at the last meeting. It is not your job to make everyone happy. It is not even your job to make the majority of your constituents happy. Unfortunately, thanks to an education system that rarely teaches civics and a media bent on manipulation, fewer and fewer people seem to realize that. With the media and politicians constantly harping about threats to democracy, many people believe that democracy is our form of government. It's not. Sure, you were elected by a democratic process to represent us, but that doesn't make us a democracy. We are a representative republic. The dangers of true democracy have been written about by many. A true democracy is the equivalent of mob rule. Also, if you were only elected to represent us by doing what the majority wanted, then why would we even need you? We could just put everything to a democratic vote. So then, as our representatives, if you are not to do exactly what we want, then how are you to represent us? Well, you are elected to do what is right and good and correct on our behalf, regardless of if it makes everyone happy or nobody happy. I assume that you all know this already, yet it is extremely tempting to try and make everyone happy. We all want to be liked, and our human nature tends to lead us in the wrong direction. If we set out to make everyone happy, we will likely make nobody happy. But if we set out to do what is right, we have the best chance of making the greatest number of people happy. So how do we determine what is right and good? That is a long conversation with a very short answer. and I think you know where I am going with it. Heavenly Father, I thank you for guiding us when we seek out what is right. I am happy for the direction our supervisors have taken towards fiscal responsibility. I believe it's the right thing to do, and I believe that you think so too. But just because it's the right thing to do does not mean it's the easy thing or the most popular thing. So please give our supervisors and all county staff the strength to handle this difficult task. Be with them in their meetings today and over the coming days as they try to tackle this on behalf of our county. And I'd just like to add, Lord, I do know, Lord, that you do not stand for hate. And I do pray for all the people here on that behalf that your will would be done, Lord. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jake Noonan. I have deep roots here in Tuolumne County. My grandparents raised their family here, and my parents followed suit. I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers, many of which raise their families here now. Some of you board members have even befriended my siblings. Your children have become friends. While I have no intentions of starting a family myself, I love my brothers and sisters. I love my nieces and nephews. I want nothing more than for them to exist in a world that they always feel safe in, a world where they can be their true self without stresses of getting attacked for being just that. I would assume most, if not all of you in this room, have the same desires for your loved ones. The world is a very large place, and the fact of the matter is that it is not always safe. It is unpredictable and chaotic more often than not, and unfortunately, our loved ones may not always feel safe in it. However, Tuolumne County is much smaller than the entire world, and is where many of our loved ones have chosen to reside and raise their families. What a wonderful place to do so. I often feel so lucky to live in such a beautiful place. The other night, while scrolling through a local Facebook group, I read about the vicious beating of a young individual who was attacked for being gay. My heart sank, and suddenly the beauty of Tuolumne County was no longer on my mind. Since the attack, reports of it have been circulating via Facebook and local newspapers. While my personal opinion is that the attack itself has been downplayed through certain verbiage, I'd like to shift my focus now to resolution. Board members, what are you going to do to ensure that this does not happen again? Have you contacted state representatives and notified them of the atrocities that took place? Do you have a plan of action moving forward to promote inclusivity? At this time, I'd like to speak directly to you, Supervisor Kirk. In the past, you have voted against previous resolutions. I hope you see now that this is much more than just a bullying issue. Being a person of influence in this county, your actions or lack thereof matter. I hope you never have to experience the fear that I did the other night as I called my brother, who happens to be gay, and warned him to be safe. He has every right to feel just as safe in this country, in this world, in this county, as you and I do as straight men. This is more than bullying. This is hate, and hate has no place here. I urge you to act accordingly moving forward and to ensure something like this never occurs again. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, it's my first time up here. Oh, give me just a second.
Our thermostat's pretty iffy in this
Oh, are
building.
you kidding me? All the days I've worked in here, all the
As
sweat
you
I've
know.
shed in here. Oy vey. In honor of former Supervisor Half's tradition of opening a meeting with a quote, allow me to share one. This one's from a LA supervisor. Hate crimes don't just target individuals. They harm entire communities. Good morning, Board. My name is Elizabeth Mills, and I'm transgender. I'm also a broadcaster with Access Tuolumne who knows many of you. I'm also a longtime resident of Tuolumne County and a longtime member of this community. My family goes back 7 generations in Tuolumne County. I followed the path that a lot of your children are likely following right now, high school into Columbia College. I come before you today as a citizen for the same reason that many others have, outrage. Outrage that one of our neighbors has been a victim of such vile hatred. These are unprecedented times for queer people. Hate crimes against the LGBTQ population are rising across California and the United States at large. And for the first time in my living memory, an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court has suggested overturning gay marriage. This isn't just bullying. Queer people are scared. We've been sent messages on a national scale that we are not welcome, and that message has come to Tuolumne County. You, as a board, have the ability to set the record straight and to tell your worried constituents who are here today that fear and hatred have no place in our community. No one should become a victim of violence for whom they love or for whom they are. Here's one more quote for you, if you can stomach it. All young people, regardless of sexual orientation or identity, deserve a safe and supportive environment in which to achieve their full potential. For those of you who don't know, those are words by Harvey Milk, a supervisor in San Francisco before he was murdered. For the queer kids growing up in Tuolumne County, don't lose hope. Things are tough, but the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. Our day will come. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to very quickly intervene too, as a time check, we are at 9:33. We do have, again, a 10 a.m. appointment, which is a hiring. Somebody had to drive 3 hours up for it too. So just in looking that each comment is 3 minutes and how many people would like to speak as well, you don't have to use the full 3 minutes as well, just to let everybody know. So at 10, we will be having to pause this, and afterwards we can bring and reopen oral communications, but it will be after a bit of a delay. So. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Harper. I am a queer woman who has lived here in Tuolumne County for over half her life. And as I've heard a great deal of very eloquent conversation up to this point already, I'm just going to make this very simple. I'm just going to say that I want to know how you are making it possible for me and my family to be safe here in Tuolumne County. I want to know how you're protecting us. I want to know how you're preventing this from happening again. I have seen hate crimes against people of color in this community. Now I've seen it against gay people in this community. I had a conversation with someone I trusted the other day who said, oh, well, this is just Tuolumne County. That's just the trade-off you get for living up here. I am not willing to accept that. I'm not willing to accept that hate has any place here. I am not prepared to stand by idly and simply sit and watch as people are terrorized for nothing more than the crime of merely existing as who they are. I insist that something be done to prevent these psychopaths and bigots who think that they have free license just because they live up here in this beautiful place to persecute those who are not like them. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, thank you. Hello, my name is Jordan Newington, born and raised in Tuolumne County, and I am a gay man here in support of the victim and the hate crime that took place here in my community. I want to thank Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors for your time, energy, and attention to this matter, and the voices here who feel brave enough to stand up to ensure others are heard and not devalued. I want to address the supervisors and our community. I want us to stop for one moment and look to the person to your left and to your right, and then look around the room. There is diversity here. Many individuals from various walks of life, religions, testimonies, and identities, all individually unique, and we are one people. We are a community that should look to our neighbors to our left and right and reach out a hand, pull out a chair, and offer a space at the table regardless of who we are and the identities we hold as individuals. This crime only echoes the cries from so many who have lost their voice or simply do not feel brave enough to stand here today in fear of retaliation, doxing, or spreading of an agenda when we as a community member simply want to be given the space and respect others have the privilege to hold and even gaslight others in our community with. It should be the supervisor's goal, the police department and other reigning agencies, have it be known that hate will not stand. Regardless of who you are, what you believe in, what you preach, or how you live your life, hate has no place here. I speak for and stand together with my community, calling upon those with the power to enact change and to use it to send a message to those who may feel that choosing acts of hate, harassment, threats, and devalidation is not the way and it will not be tolerated. Hate has no place here. So, it starts right here. With the multitude of our voices and your voices as supervisors, I understand how much pressure this puts on all of you, and I thank you for hearing each and every one of us. I'm going to wrap this up and end speaking to the future generation, or at least to the community members raising the generations we are so proud to continue to establish in this community. It stuck with me over the last few days that we speak sometimes of building generational wealth and leaving a supporting way and guidelines for the generations to follow. I leave those here this morning and those watching online, regardless of who you are, to practice building what I want to call generational kindness. I pray that together we can build and find a resolution that builds wealth of kindness, equity and diversity, inclusion, and freedom of self for all and every generation to come and grow up in this beautiful community. We all deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your time today and for listening to the citizens of Tuolumne County. My name is Sophia Kaufman, and I was born and raised here. And this is the second time that I have addressed the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors about the local queer community. I previously addressed Supervisor Kirk for amplifying a harmful rhetoric about the queer community in general. Harmful rhetoric in America about this community has fueled a fire and emboldened hatred for this community to the point of 3 local individuals enacting a hate crime last week. According to a study published by the National Library of Medicine, queer people were 9 times more likely to experience a hate crime as compared to non-queer individuals. The study also found that compared to non-queer victims, these victims of hate crimes were more likely to be younger, have a relationship with their assailant, and have an assailant who is white. In fact, hate crimes have increased every year since 2014, according to the FBI's statistics. In 2023, there were 13,857 victims of hate crime, 22.5% of which were harmed because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. It is no secret that January 2025 was a whirlwind of a month that incited fear in many individuals. While we cannot fix the country with our local efforts, we can make our community a safer place. In terrifying times, I do my best to take good old Mr. Rogers' advice to look for the helpers. Today, I am looking at all of you on our board to lead this community toward a safer, brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank everybody, too. I know it can be hard when you want to clap, and everybody's doing a really great job. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Stacy. I'm a mom. I'm an early childhood educator. I'm the artist in residence at Tuolumne County Arts, and I am a board member of the Tri-County LGBT Alliance. To start, I'd like to thank our local law enforcement for treating this matter with the seriousness that it deserves. The statement that was released by the sheriff, it left me with confidence in the leadership and strength of our local law enforcement, and I appreciate that. I want to add real quick that the numbers that she just gave, the FBI, are the reported and confirmed and investigated cases. The Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics puts that estimate, when you count all of the unreported hate crimes, closer to 250,000 a year annually in the U.S. for hate crimes. What is a hate crime? It is a crime, typically one involving violence, that is motivated by prejudice on the basis of race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or sex. I can guarantee that every member on this board or someone you love is on this list. Your wife, your daughter, your disabled parents, the people who sit next to you at church. You all deserve safety, and you all deserve to be able to live your lives, to go on dates, meet new people, without fear of being targeted and attacked. And so do I, and so do the people that I love. For some of you on this board, we may never see eye to eye. We may never stand together at a rally or fight the same fights. But whatever our differences, we need to stand together on this. Violence and hatred have no place in this town. Let this be our common ground. Let us all do whatever we can to keep each other and our loved ones safe. I'm not asking you to love and understand us. In fact, today I'm not even asking you to accept us. Today, I'm asking you to protect us. Help keep our shared community, because we do share it, safe by taking direct and immediate action. Today, I reach out my hand and ask that you stand with me on this narrow patch of common ground. Let this one shared value be the bridge that connects the divide. As a member of our community, I ask you to pass a resolution to condemn LGBT violence, and as your constituent, I demand it.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Excuse me. So my name is Amanda Coates, and I am the district representative for Senator Marie Alvarado-Gil. I know that somebody had mentioned before as far as state representatives, and I'm here. So on behalf of Senator Marie Alvarado-Gil, I have a statement. I have been in contact with the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office and Supervisor Brandon to express my full support for their ongoing efforts in responding to the horrific assaults on a young person in Jamestown. Violent attacks against any individual, regardless of protected class, are an assault on our entire community. We all deserve to feel safe, and I am committed to supporting our law enforcement as they work to ensure our government acts swiftly and decisively to protect us. I am praying for the victim's speedy and full recovery. And I just want to say I love the fact that our community is coming together, especially on something so sad. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Amanda. I'll say too, thank you for being here as well. And the state senator reached out very shortly after the news was publicized to ask what we needed, and that is amazing for what we need from our state reps. And the assembly office has also been in touch. Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Matt Beal. It is perhaps a reflection of our times that I must stand before you today and argue against the notion that hate should be tolerated. But it is necessary, indeed urgent, to remind elected officials that it is in a civilized society, the fundamental rights of individuals are not a matter of debate. They are not privileges granted at a whim of the majority. They are rather the bedrock upon which a free and fair society stands. Recently, this county bore witness to an act of cowardice, an attack on a member of the LGBTQ+ community, carried out not in the name of justice, nor of reason, nor of principle, but of the most contemptible human failing, hatred. Let us be clear, this was not merely an assault on one person, it was an assault on the principles that underpin any society that dares call itself just. The vision of Tuolumne County proclaims that this is a place where all citizens may thrive in a safe, healthy, and productive community, an admirable sentiment. But what value does this statement have? What weight does it carry if it is not followed by action? If we are content to watch as some of our citizens are harassed, targeted, and brutalized, then let us be honest enough to amend that vision statement accordingly. Tuolumne County is a place where some citizens may thrive. I challenge you to prove otherwise. I ask this board to adopt a resolution, not because it is politically expedient, not because it is convenient, but because it is right. A resolution that does not merely express sympathy for the victims of hate crimes, but condemns unequivocally those who perpetrate them. One that declares this county a place where no person shall live in fear for who they are, for who they love, or for daring to exist. I've provided you a draft resolution as follows. Resolution declaring Tuolumne County a safe and inclusive community for all people, including LGBTQ+ individuals, and condemning hate crimes, whereas the vision of Tuolumne County boldly claims that all citizens should have the opportunity to thrive in a safe, healthy, and productive community, an aspiration that rings hollow if we fail to defend those very citizens against bigotry and violence. Whereas it is not enough to passively condemn acts of hatred, we must make it clear and known in unambiguous terms that Tuolumne County will not tolerate those who seek to undermine the dignity and security of its people. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors declares without hesitation or apology that Tuolumne County is a safe and inclusive community for all its residents, including members of the LGBTQ+ community. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a time check in, so we're at 9:46. Again, we'll be having to pause for a 10 a.m. appointment. We can resume some of the oral communications after that, but at 3 minutes each, again, that's about 4 to 5 people, unless the shorter. So just for folks in line there. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to change the subject, not because I think it needs to be, but because I have another concern I'd like to address, the board to address. In light of the recent fires in Los Angeles, I am here to request the board's commitment to launching a full-scale effort to prepare our community for a possible fire. As Dory Beats has said, it is not a question of when, or if, not a question of if, but when that fire will come. Please give the EOS the full financial support it needs in an all-out effort to educate our community and to communicate with our community what needs to be done to be fully prepared and what the communication system will be in the event of a fire, which is not clear to those of us in the community. Specifically, I ask that you implement the zone evacuation system, which is accepted by 90% of the counties in this state and makes for clear identification of who's to evacuate. I ask that you identify each resident's zone to them so they are fully informed and aware. I ask that you update an expansion of the existing exit routes in subdivisions and that you address the communication issue in this county because some of us have no contact or communication if the electricity goes out, which PG&E frequently decides is necessary. To work together as partners with local radio stations for offering information via battery-operated radios, to understand that not all of us in the county use Facebook, and Facebook is not enough for the Sheriff's Department to be using to communicate what needs to be done and who's evacuating. So I hope that you will seriously consider this. I haven't heard much talk about your preparation for fire, and I hope that you will now turn your full attention to this very pressing issue. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Jen Salazar. I'm a 39-year-old Tuolumne County native. I'm a non-binary lesbian. Currently, I'm serving my second term on the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board. I serve one appointed term on the Tuolumne County Homeless Commission. I'm a member of Compassion Outreach and the Homeless Outreach Support Team. The first time I realized I was different, I was in first grade. A boy called me a brownie. I went home crying. Growing up with racism and homophobia were normal to me. Many of my friends drove around with Confederate flags. They used racist language as their daily vernacular. I am ashamed to admit it, but I use these slurs too in my attempts to fit in. I came out as a lesbian my freshman year. I was bullied and outcasted. A gay male friend who was a cheerleader was often beat up severely. Nothing was ever really done about it, so again, I accepted this as normal. Eventually, I was banned from the girls' locker room. Some girls complained they were worried I would look at them while they were undressing. However, I've always been very respectful. Anyone who knows me knows this is something I would never do. My sophomore and junior year, I spent in residential treatment. In Utah, I was subject to conversion therapy. I was locked in a tiny cell and forced to do writing assignments all day. I was not allowed to share a room with a female under the age of 12. Eventually, I was not allowed to talk to females at the group home at all. I felt like a plague. Recently, I had a community member tell me that gay people stole the rainbow. Others have condemned me to hell. It hurt me, but I accepted this as part of life. No one should have to live that way. These are only few examples. I have also witnessed a lot of hatred towards Tuolumne County's unhoused neighbors. It does not make the news. Few care because they're homeless and have no family. I've witnessed people make terrorist threats to blow up the Rawhide Bridge and everyone underneath it. Others have been purposely run over by vehicles. Some have been targeted, attacked, beaten up, or shot at with pellet guns. A homeless trans female was almost beaten to death. This story did not even make the news. Despite all this, I've never felt real fear until recently. I would like to express my deepest sympathies to the family and anyone affected by this horrible crime. I'm requesting the board draft a resolution to condemn all hate crimes against all people regardless of age, race, socioeconomic status, housing status, gender, sexual orientation, etc. Everyone deserves to feel safe and respected. I believe in our community. We stand out. This is a chance to be an example to other communities. We deserve for our elected officials and law enforcement to take these matters seriously to ensure an inclusive community where all members feel safe, accepted, and welcome. The rainbow is a symbol of hope. It's a promise of light after the darkness, or the rainbow after the storm. It's not easy to walk around this town with a rainbow cowboy hat, but it's part of my identity now. It's my trademark. I wear the rainbow with pride. Now I feel more afraid than ever to walk around in my rainbows. Please enact a resolution against hate crimes. I don't want to take my rainbows off. Once I do, all hope is lost.
Great. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Henry Axland, and I've lived in Tuolumne County most of my life. But before that, I lived in San Joaquin, more specifically, Manteca. In my short 8 years down there, I saw a lot of bad things, all right? Fatal car crashes, homeless people needlessly suffering, and witnessing gun violence firsthand. In 2014, my parents moved my siblings and I from the valley to remove us from the danger. And for a while, Tuolumne County was great. It was quiet and peaceful. Life was good. However, as I've gotten older, I've watched the once peaceful county I love turn into something unrecognizable. It started with comments in schools, jokes between friends, poking fun at those different than us, whether it be weird hair or crazy hobbies and habits, we poked fun at it. And at first I went along with it all, right? Young boys, we shoot the crap. The bullying of others started slow, then it ramped up. It changed from mean but offhanded comments to targeting people specifically. When I became intolerant of it, they turned on me too. There's a famous quote by Stephanie Meyer. Quotes, "If you throw a frog in a pot of boiling water, it'll immediately jump out. But if you put that same frog in a pot of tepid water and slowly warm it, the frog doesn't figure out what's going on until it's too late." Boiled frog. I can't help but feel this quote is quickly becoming relatable to the state of Tuolumne County. We have tolerated and looked away and swept things under the rug from hate, bigotry, and violence for far too long, and look where it's gotten us. A young man beat to the pulp for a simple crime of being gay. Hatred is a very certain type of rot, one that is slow and all-consuming, one that is hard to get rid of and reverse. It ruins communities and creates unsafe environments for everyone, even those who thought they were safe, like I was. We must end this behavior before it starts, and we do that with education about LGBTQ+ individuals and their families. If we begin to reverse this now and start education now, and become intolerant of this violence, maybe, just maybe, we can turn the tide before it becomes a tsunami. For the sake of all those living in Tuolumne County, whether they be gay, straight, cisgender, or transgender, I truly, truly hope and pray we can turn this tide. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Irana Ross. I am a longtime citizen of Tuolumne, born in Calaveras County. I am deeply saddened by this absolutely unacceptable act of violence against a member of our community. We are in a moment of making choices, more than we ever have been, about how we want to show up at every level. And it is my strong conviction that we have a duty to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone who lives in our county. I also want to commend Sheriff Vasquez on his strong response. We are being given an opportunity here in our small but caring community to come together with a clear message that hatred and violence are never to be tolerated or overlooked. It is my fervent hope and strong personal commitment as a citizen of this beautiful place in which we have the privilege to live, that we as a community make it abundantly and undeniably clear that every citizen here deserves not only to feel safe and cared for, but to be safe and to know that we care, that we are watching and we are standing strongly unified for that safety. We have a duty in our privilege of living in this beautiful place to reflect that beauty in our words, our deeds, and our clear dedication to a safe and peaceful community. Do we want to be known as a community which cares more about being right, about how wrong others are? Or do we want to be known as a community which is committed to exemplifying kindness and care at every opportunity? My hope is that this is a galvanizing moment for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for your time this morning. And I appreciate all of you. I'm noticing the eye contact. Thank you. I feel that you are really listening. I'm here today to support the LGBTQ support community. I'm a therapist. I have a private practice in mental health in downtown Sonora. I have many transgender and gay and lesbian clients. There's a lot of talk over the last few years about violence and mental health. I am here to tell you, I live in mental health. I've lived in it for 25 years. Mental health cannot do this alone. My clients, I will stand and witness to you, they are terrified. I do not exaggerate. They are scared to go downtown. They are scared to work in our community. This is unacceptable. And I'm here to also testify that, as you know, therapy goes very, very, very deep into history, trauma, etc. I also want to tell you, this is not a choice. They do not choose this. Okay? Therefore, I believe we need to treat them and all people in this county with respect and love, and it is your job, and I beg each of you, do not allow hate in this county. We mental health people cannot do this alone. And we are a collaborative. We are a group of people that we need to work together. And if we think that we're going to be individual, it is not going to happen, and there are going to be a lot of consequences for this county. Please be in line with Sheriff Vasquez and I support everyone here who asked for a resolution. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning,
again,
Supervisors.
Just a time check on that, and we'll go a little over 10. But if it's okay, please, nobody more line up. We're going to pause it after. I know you've been waiting for a while, too. So we'll pause it after this, go to our 10 a.m., and we can reopen that for anybody who hasn't spoken and would like to speak later on in the agenda. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is May France, and I was born and raised in Tuolumne County. I grew up here and moved away for about a decade and came back to raise my own family here. I have 2 children, ages 8 and 10. And I stand here as a longtime resident, born and raised in Tuolumne County, and in support of Sheriff Vasquez's leadership on this issue. Last night, my sons caught me crying in my bedroom, and I had to explain to them in the moment what a hate crime was. And trying to explain that to an 8 and a 10-year-old here in my hometown was really difficult. And after I tried to explain what had happened and that our county leadership was taking appropriate action to ensure justice, my son, who is half Jewish, said, "Mom, do people do hate crimes on Jews?" And I said, "Yes, son, people do." And so I'm here to ask that you stand with Sheriff Vasquez to ensure justice for everybody in our community, because either being silent or not in support of this resolution sends a very clear message to potential perpetrators of violent crime that this county and its leadership is okay with that. It's a slippery slope where the situation could get much worse if we don't take clear and decisive action now. And so this is not a right-left issue. This is a common purpose of ensuring justice for all of our citizens. And so I ask you to please send the message to the entire community, as well as our children, that this is a safe place for all people to grow up, and that our county's leadership will be supportive and ensure justice for all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Michael Matheson. I'm a resident of Mariposa. I'm not one of your constituents, but I wanted to come and put in context. It's said that America is a city on the hill. Today, Tuolumne is the city on this hill. This board is the city on this hill. The actions in Jamestown don't just affect the citizens of Tuolumne. Citizens in Mariposa are scared. My sister is gay. Last night, my mom was asking me if she should ask my sister to be less presenting, not wear a pride flag, because she's worried she will get hurt from the actions that have happened here. If Tuolumne is the city on the hill, then your neighboring counties are looking at you for action. And I'm here on behalf of residents of Mariposa County. I bring today with me a petition signed by 130 Mariposa residents and community members that reads as follows. On behalf of the undersigned community members of Mariposa, we extend our support and prayers to the victim and their family. We hope for a strong recovery and quick justice for this crime. We're deeply distressed by the hateful act committed against the LGBT community in our sister county. Such an attack is not only a gross violation of human right, but also goes against our shared values of compassion, equity, and human dignity. We must stand together against bigotry, hatred, and violence. We urge you to show solidarity with the victim, calling for fair justice, and above all, echoing loudly that hate and violence has no place in mountain communities. We'll be looking to you for your leadership, and from your actions, we'll be following suit. The people feeling this in Mariposa are not just those limited to the town or Coulterville, but they're spread across the country. People who have family members in Mariposa, people that grew up here and moved out. This petition has over 100 signatures from people that live in Mariposa or surrounding community, but it also is joined by family members and friends from Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, Colorado, Texas, Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, New York, Vermont, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Florida. When I say the eyes are upon you, it is not just Tuolumne, it is not just Mariposa, but it is the country as a whole, and we look for your leadership. With permission, I deliver this petition and the signatures of my fellow citizens to the chair.
Oh, yeah. To our board clerk, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Tristan Salietta. Some of you know me. My objective is a reminder that I hope all the board members will recall and investigate. And this,
sir, if you can please, Tristan, address the board,
Okay, this is just the board. Of the transsexual investigative reporter, Sabine Tischler, who is no longer resident in Tuolumne County. And I hope you will all keep the history of her story in mind as you do your deliberations. On Black Lives Matter Sonora, anybody that wants can see some of Sabine's old writings about, I don't know, a word that's used is corruption in the county. And I think that it carries over, and I hope you will keep that in mind so that you will be able to negotiate your deliberations and that all the parties, I know where Anaya is, but the others I'm not familiar with, and I hope this will be ammunition for you. And there's more information on Black Lives Matter Sonora if anybody wants to investigate. And if anybody wants to make an inquiry to me, I'm around and available all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tristan. All right. Would you like to respond?
I was curious, just since my name was brought up several times, if I could give about a 1 minute response or less.
We will be pausing it after this. I generally agree with that. If there's a name reference, we cannot engage in a back and forth when it comes to oral communication, but for anything, just to clarify, I do agree. So Supervisor Kirk, if you have a short statement, and again, this will not be a back and forth for this item.
Yeah, no, the last gentleman just said he knows where I stand. I think you do from a Union Democrat or my motherlode point of view, but I would invite you to go out to coffee with me. I see Matt's in the audience. We're going to try and make that work. So with that being said, somebody brought up a 2022 video. I will go back and watch it and try and provide some clarity. I think I've been pretty clear on where I stand. Jake Noonan, yeah, Lucas is Warren's best friend. He's coming over this afternoon. That's going to continue. But you did bring up a previous resolution. The resolution that I voted no to, it was on the Pride Month. But this is referencing a hate resolution, which is something that's never been before this board. And so I just want to make sure you're clear where I voted. And then this is a conversation about a potential hate resolution. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And then somebody brought up hateful rhetoric and that it may have caused this attack. And I would be very cautious to say that rhetoric that has gone on in the community is what has triggered this attack.
And Supervisor Kirk, if we can keep it to the statements.
I'm going to finish it to this. I want to be very clear where I stand because I understand this is a very emotionally charged moment. And what I've told Matt, what I've told other people is, especially working in law enforcement, I have learned to wait until all the facts are collected, okay? Right now, the individuals have not been charged with a hate crime, as far as I'm concerned. They've been charged with assault. There's an ongoing investigation. And until all the facts are collected and we know where this case stands, I have simply stated that I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to jump on board with the resolution or anything until the facts are collected. I'm not going to speak for the sheriff, but I read the article. The sheriff did not say this was a hate crime, but he did say we don't tolerate hate crimes. And I will be the first one to tell you, nor do I, and I don't think anybody up on this board does. If this is in fact a hate crime, then we will have a conversation about how I will get on board to help support that messaging. But until those facts are deliberated, I'm just simply going to wait. So Jen Salazar brought up a really good idea about when the day is appropriate, having a resolution against all hate crimes. I will absolutely jump on board.
Just to comments, please, that are that we're referencing you specifically of a statement of fact. We don't want to have this be a qualitative
Jared,
discussion.
I'm finishing up. So I'm getting more heat than probably anybody because of an old resolution about an LGBTQ Pride Month. This is not that. This is about a potential hate crime. So, Sheriff, I see you're standing there. Can you confirm this morning, have these individuals been charged with a hate crime? Is there still an ongoing investigation?
Okay, we're going to allow this because this is very uncommon, but I know there's a lot of attention. We said 1 minute. It's more than 1 minute. So after this is where I would like it to end, but we'll leave it to the sheriff with a closing word before we move on to business.
Good morning, Board. Dave Vasquez, Sheriff of Tuolumne County. I will just say that since I began talking to the press, the media, and since this incident, I've been very, very clear that my comments are based on general principle and that this is a time for reflection because the type of crime that we are talking about is shocking to the conscience. It's shocking to the community. I did say and have been very clear that this is an ongoing investigation and we are currently investigating it as a potential hate crime. It's important for everybody to know that it's a specific intent crime, which means that we need a specific set of evidence and we have a legal, moral, and ethical obligation to investigate these things neutrally to prove and disprove any of the information. So I've been very, very clear with the media that it is an ongoing investigation. We take it very, very seriously, but I don't have time for the community to have guesswork on where their sheriff stands should hate crimes or anything else come to be proven. I want them to know that on a general principle, I am unwavering in my position as it applies to hate crime against any protected person, and our goal is to ensure equal protection of the Constitution for all people in Tuolumne County. So to clarify on that, it is an ongoing investigation. We are investigating it as a hate crime. As of right now, we have 3 individuals that were arrested since the incident took place to current time. Right now, we do not have the information that we need. We are actively pursuing and vetting to then recommend whether or not hate applies to this crime. It is a very lengthy process. We are dealing with electronics and forensics. A lot of things go into it. We have to be 100% sure. So that's where I'm at this point in time. I hope that brings clarity to any concerns that are out there.
Sheriff, thank you for the comment.
All
right, Supervisor Kirk.
No.
If there is a majority that would like to overrule my decision, that's okay.
Second closing comment.
If 3 would like to do it.
I agree with Supervisor Brandon.
We got 3 over here. So my closing 10 seconds are, if this is in fact a hate crime, you will have my full support to come out and support a resolution or something along those lines that all people created equal. There should not be hate in this community, regardless of your race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, any of that. So hope we're clear. Thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to be pausing oral communications and moving. I know we've got a bit onto our agenda. Thank you, everybody. I know it'll be a quick moment. I'd like to take a... Yes. Yes, I was going to take a 4-minute bio break. I was to do one at around 10, and then we'll read the item and go to 10. Okay, we'll read the item, then we'll take the break, and we'll coordinate. The board clerk. Everybody, we are still conducting business just for a sec, so.
10 a.m. appointment.
Public Employee Appointment Authority Government Code, Section 54957B1, Air Pollution Control District Director.
Great. All right, we'll be recessing for 4 minutes. I'm sorry. Yeah. On the hearing? Oh, we're not doing the closed session right now. All right, we'll be opening comment, I believe, on the closed session item, correct? This is item number 4 on the 10 a.m., but not closed session as well. I'm sorry, legal, can you, yeah.
The 10 a.m. item is closed session. We just need public comment on that one
Okay.
item.
I think we're clear now. Any comment on the 10 a.m. item as read, related to air pollution control? Going once, going twice. All right, public comment is closed. The meeting is recessed for about 5 minutes. There we go. Great. All right, we're reconvening the Board of Supervisors meeting. It's 11:13. We don't have any report out from our closed session item. We're going to be moving right now into the consent calendar with that. So can the board clerk please read all of the items? Oh, sorry. Let me open that up first really quick. Do any members of the board have any items that they wanted to pull first?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pull item number 1.
Okay. We'll be pulling item number 1. Do we have any other items we wanted to pull? All right. With that now, please read all the ones on the consent calendar minus item 1.
Item number 2, approving the plan specifications and bid book for contract number 1657 Monoway Operational and Safety Project, and issuing a call for bids to be due on February 27, 2025 at 2 p.m. Item number 3, accepting the notice of completion for Crystal Falls Drive Overlay Project, contract number 1762, and authorizing the chair to sign the notice. Item number 4, adopting resolution 04-25, approving the summary vacation of a public road easement along a portion of Draper Mine Road as described in exhibits A and B attached to the resolution. Item number 5, adopting resolution 05-25, approving the quitclaim of a parcel of land along a portion of Draper Mine Road, APN 043-630-015, as described in exhibits A and B attached to the resolution. Item number 6, accepting the notice of completion for Middle Camp Sugar Pine Overlay Project, contract number 1763, and authorizing the chair to sign the notice. Item number 7, accepting the resignation of Tony Wagner from the Area 12 Agency on Aging Advisory Council and directing the clerk of the board to send a letter of appreciation and post a notice of vacancy. Item number 8, approving the delegation of authority to Veterans Service Representative Chris M. Albright to sign Tuolumne County's Veterans Service Office, VSO, related documents while recruiting for a County Veteran Service Officer, CVSO. Item number 9, adopting resolution 06-25, authorizing application and signature delegation to the county administrator for the California Office of Traffic Safety's annual programs in the driving under the influence and drug impaired driving program areas. Item number 10, approving the Tuolumne County Local Child Care Planning Council annual membership report for 2025. Item number 11, accepting the notice of completion for Marsh's Flat Road storm drainage at First and Second Creek Project, contract number 1723-02, and authorizing the chair to sign the notice. Item number 12, adopting resolution 07-25, waiving the county building and safety division fees for the West Side Subdivision Project and affordable housing development.
Great, thank you. We'll open this up to the board if there's any comment on these items, and we'll open up to public comment and look for a motion. Supervisor Kirk?
Two quick comments. Number 6, Middle Camp Sugar Pine. Thank you, Public Works. I've got a lot of emails and phone calls since that project was done. And thank you, Board. These two members were here before, and we had a list of roads. This is one of the roads that we approved, so thank you, guys. It's been a blessing in my district. And then also, number 12, waiving the county building safety fees for the West Side subdivision. I just want to remind folks, because somebody had reached out, it is per our ordinance that we are allowed to waive these fees. It wasn't a homie hookup. They meet the criteria per the fees. We need affordable housing, so I just want to make that clear. And also, I see some members of the tribe here. Thank you guys. You guys have always been a good partner, whether it's this or fire or really anything. You guys really set the bar for just collaboration, so thank you guys. So,
Supervisor Campbell?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I echo Supervisor Kirk's comments, particularly on Middle Camp Sugar Pine Road. That was a long time coming, and I think Public Works did a fantastic job. And then I'll just add on to that the Crystal Falls Drive Overlay Project, and this is a notice of completion. I think that community is really well served by that road, and it's a great project, and a lot of people are very happy about it. It's an area that hadn't had any kind of improvement to that road in 30 years. So step by step, we're starting to make some real substantial improvements on our major collector roads and some of the community roads that are so critical to our county. And so, you know, just remember we're doing our best. We're working on it as quickly as possible whenever you see potholes.
Supervisor Griefer?
Thank you. I just want to kind of echo the same thing my colleagues have said about Public Works and the Roads Department working especially on Marsh's Flat. That's a kind of a secret road that people use to go from Moccasin over to the Don Pedro side. So when that's not operational, it adds to a drive. So I just want to express my thanks to them working on that project as diligently as they have.
All right, we'll open it up for any public comment on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Supervisor Campbell, for pulling item number 1. And I had some concerns about item number 12, and I hear what you're saying, but that's over $1 million. And I appreciate that you can do that, but it sends a message, I think, to the rest of our community in a sense. So I'm a little conflicted about that one. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? All right, with that, we'll be closing public comment on this item. If there's no further discussion by the board, I'll be looking for a motion. All right, moved by Supervisor Griefer, seconded by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, all of that passes. It's okay, do we want to go right into one, Supervisor Campbell, or can we address that later in the agenda?
I'd prefer to go into it now, and we can.
Okay.
I don't plan on taking very long.
We'll open up then, if the clerk can read item 1, and afterwards we'll move into our 11 o'clock appointment.
Item number 1, approving the minutes of January 14, 2025 meeting.
Okay, so I'll kick it off, and I'll give the reason really succinctly why I pulled this. So the minutes, I think, reflect accurately what happened on the morning of January 14th. And I feel it was a huge lapse in proper standards for the board. It also is a violation of our governance rules and potentially a violation of the law. And so it really concerned me that the way that we conducted some of the budget discussions in the meeting. And I'll kind of give my reasons why that is. So in the morning, we had a presentation by the CAO at the time on the budget, and the board had discussion. We had public input, and then we made recommendations and gave a consensus recommendation to the CAO. Then we retired into closed session and on items that were not budget related. They were not agendized as budget related items. They were closed session items that were related to employee evaluations and bargaining. Okay, those were the two items that we had in closed session. And then in the minutes, it says, I think the quiet part out loud where it says the deputy county administrator provided when we returned from closed session, we reopened the morning budget discussion when nobody from the public was present, which to me is outrageous to begin with, to reopen an item after we've gone into closed session. But worse still is that in the minutes, what it says is we provided, that the Deputy County Administrator provided an update after receiving direction during the closed session items, provided staff recommendation to the board, consideration, and requested further board direction. At that point, the board made a motion, and it was approved to give direction to department heads to cut 15% of our budget. Now, none of the public was part of that discussion to where we arrived at 15%. The public was kept out of it, and as somebody who has been a servant of this county for over 10 years, I can say it's very reminiscent of the bad old days of how this county operated, where a lot of the key decisions in our community, I think, were made out of the public eye, and they were done in secret and back rooms. It was always a joke about this county, as that's where the real decisions were made. And I know we have 2 new board members, and so I really understand that you're kind of coming into this not necessarily knowing what all the rules are about how things should be agendized and how we should have proper discussions about budgets, but budget discussions of this type cannot happen in closed session. It is part of the statute. It's part of our governance rules. So that was my issue, and I think that we should know better, that we should hold ourselves to a higher standard, and that we should be very open and honest about why we're deciding to make the cuts. And so that I didn't really have much of a chance to explain why I had a no vote on the 15% last month, and it wasn't because I thought that we shouldn't be making cuts to our budget. It wasn't because I thought that we're not going to have to make some tough decisions in the next few months about what our community's priorities are and how our budgets should be spent. It's because I think we need to be very careful to involve the community in those discussions, because I think they have a lot of opinions too. And those are my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Great. Do we have other board comments? I only have one to say. I appreciate you bringing this up. I think there was a lot of change. It was a messy day in a lot of ways. I believe that the direction was given for later actions that are going to be reviewed in public, but I think that the feedback is taken very well, and thank you for the opportunity to pull the item and discuss that too. Certainly the intent always needs to be that these discussions happen within the public, and I think we're going to have a lot of ideas and a lot of things coming up, including some probably today. So with that, are there any further comments? Open it up for any public comment. Any members of the public like to speak? Please rise for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Supervisor Campbell. I agree with you on many things. And I have my own way that I can deal with this, which I intend to do so, but I didn't want to do it today because I knew there was going to be a lot of public comment. So I just want to talk about the minutes themselves. These were the most atrocious minutes I have ever seen of any meeting in this county since I've been coming to these meetings. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. So it's very clear in the Brown Act and whatever else that you have to tell me as a member of the public, you have to tell me specifically in the meeting orally as well as on your minutes who votes for what. So on your minutes, you have who made the motion, who seconded, and then you had the votes, and you only listed 2 supervisors. I need to know who voted yes. And when the vote's taken here, you need to say, as the board chair, this motion was approved 5-0 unanimous, or this motion was approved 4-1 with supervisor so-and-so voting no, or you list it, or you announce which supervisors voted yes, which supervisors voted no, because people are listening, and I may know what your voice sounds like, but other people don't. And then in the minutes, just because someone made the motion or did a second doesn't necessarily mean that they approved the motion. They may have just wanted to put it on the table and deal with it. So you can't tell me that only 2 people voted yes. I need to know exactly who voted yes and exactly who voted no, because this was extremely confusing and very poorly done. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? And this is item 1 on the consent calendar. Yes, right up here. This is specific to item 1, the minutes item that was pulled on the consent calendar. Great. All right. With that, we'll close public comment on that item, bring it back to the board. I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Campbell. We have a second by Supervisor Kirk. All those in favor say. Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct it.
I guess I wasn't
Supervisor.
real clear because I do see that it has the eyes and the nose.
It looks correct to me.
Who made the motion?
Okay.
Who made the second?
That's what I was looking at too.
Was there a,
So what I see is that it says unanimous. Is that maybe the indication of the issue that?
Yeah, page.
Well, maybe we can,
Page 13 shows it shows the votes regarding budget.
With the board's pleasure, if there's any issues, maybe we can have a discussion with legal counsel. Seems that it is fine on our side. We do have a motion and a second on the table. Do we need any discussion on it? Is it?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm comfortable moving forward now. I mean, if the clerk wants to go through it one more time, and if there are changes that need to be made, they can be brought back at the next
agree.
board meeting. But nothing jumps out at me as a procedural issue with the minutes right now.
All right, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, abstaining. All right, it is unanimous. Moving on to do we have the folks on for our 11 o'clock? No, great. All right, we'll move into our 11 a.m. appointment. If the board clerk would read the item.
(11 a.m.) Consideration of adopting Resolution 08-25 to request membership in Pioneer Community Energy, approving the Pioneer Community Energy amended and restated joint exercise of powers agreement, and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending Title 13 of Tuolumne County's Ordinance Code to water, sewers, and utilities, and adding Chapter 13.25 related to the implementation of a community choice aggregation program in the territory under Public Utilities Code, Section 366.2, and setting a second reading for adoption on February 11th, 2025.
Great, thank you. All right, Robbie.
Good morning, Board. My name is Robbie Bergstrom. I am with Tuolumne County Economic Development. And joining me in the audience today is Pioneer Community Energy Gina Stasi-Vanacore. She is the Director of Public Affairs and Marketing and Programs, and Jake Trumbull, who is the Communications Coordinator. So today today your board is being asked to take the required action to join Pioneer Community Energy, which is a community choice aggregator. Pioneer provides local control over electricity supply, and their primary objective is to provide competitive rates. And this is authorized under Assembly Bill 117, which was signed in 2002. So just as a reminder to the public what a CCA does, a CCA purchases power on the wholesale market and supplies them to their residents and commercial properties. But PG&E still transmits that energy to the location. So they are the post and pole. So they are still the infrastructure. Again, today, the board is being asked to adopt a resolution authorizing us joining the JPA, which is required by the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, and also pass a ordinance, pass the first reading of the ordinance, which is required by legislation. And this is to amend the title 13 to Water, Sewers, and Utilities, and add Chapter 13.25, authorizing us to join. So a question that often has come up is what would happen as far as our voting privileges when we become part of the JPA, and if Tuolumne County, the unincorporated areas, were to become a member of the JPA, we would have a voting member which had equal weight to all the other members. A reminder of the history: on February 13th of 2024, Pioneer met with county staff to discuss what benefits joining a CCA would bring. And on June 11th of 2024, Pioneer presented to the Board of Supervisors asking for the authorization to perform a impact assessment study, which would evaluate what would be the benefits of not only Tuolumne County, but the other 12 jurisdictions petitioning to join. The results of the impact assessment study came back showing that it would likely provide a potential benefit to our areas along with the other 12 jurisdictions. And the optimal time for that launch would be October of 2027. On December 19th of last year, Pioneer's governing board met and unanimously voted to allow the 13 jurisdictions to join their JPA. And with that, if we were to join the JPA, Pioneer would submit an implementation plan to the CPUC in March of 2025, so next month. And once that implementation plan is approved by the CPUC, the County of Tuolumne would have one more chance to decide not to join if that were the will of the board. If we were to join, the Pioneer Community Energy would begin a comprehensive plan to educate and reach out to the public to educate them on what joining a CCA would be. Another question that was often asked was what happens if we were to decide to leave the JPA? We could leave the JPA by resolution, and there would not be a financial consequence. However, there would be a timing issue that we would have to adhere to. This is because both PG&E and Pioneer would have to arrange their power purchase agreements to align with the number of customers that they have. So we wouldn't be able to necessarily leave the JPA immediately, but we would have to do it in accordance with both Pioneer and PG&E's timeline. Another thing I'd like to mention that because this does not constitute a project under Section 15378 of the Environmental Quality Act, this is not requiring any CEQA review. So with that, the staff is recommending that we approve the resolution and the amended and restated Joint Powers Agreement for Pioneer Community Energy, expanding the Joint Power Authority membership to include the counties of Butte, Nevada, Sutter, and Tuolumne, the cities of Chico, Oroville, Live Oak, Sonora, and Yuba City, and the town of Paradise as voting members, and authorize the board chair to execute the same. Also being asked to waive the first reading of the ordinance amending Title 13 of the Tuolumne Ordinance Code to read Water, Sewers, and Utilities, and adding Chapter 13.25 to the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code related to the implementation of the Community Choice Aggregation Program in the territory under Public Utilities Section 366.2, and setting a second reading for adoption on February 11th, next week.
Great. Robbie, thank you for the presentation. I know we've had this a few times before our board. I wanted to invite Gina or David, you mentioned was the other name, if you wanted to sit up here for any questions we may have. So I'll bring it up to the board for ideally any technical questions we might have on this item, move to public comment, and then we'll bring it back for board discussion. Supervisor Holland? Okay, here we go. Dive in with the mic. There we go.
How's it going? So I listened to the presentation last night at the city of Sonora. It was good. So a lot of my questions got answered there. But I had a couple listening to things people had asked. So one of the questions was, one of the questions I had was, how often can you guys raise your cost to the citizens? Like on their electricity bill, how often can you guys have the right to either raise it or lower it? You know, PG&E has to go through the CPUC. You guys are not regulated like that. So is it a monthly thing? Is it once a year?
We generally raise or adjust our rates annually. It is done in an open Brown Acted meeting. Okay. We made our 2025 rate adjustment in the January meeting where we approved an average discount of 10%, with some of our members, Grass Valley and Nevada City, receiving as much as 24% on the generation portion of their bill.
Is there ever a time when you guys are raising them or lowering them, either way, adjusting them, let's just say, at a faster rate for whatever particular reason? So people can expect, like, you know, because switching from you guys or switching from PG and you guys is a completely different game in a way, a little bit.
Right, correct. Only in the event that PG&E would lower their generation rates, and in that case, we would convene, our board would convene, and as we did last summer, when PG&E lowered their rates, we lowered our rates to ensure ratepayer savings.
Okay, thanks. The other thing I know you guys talked about last night was, it got brought up by several times, what if we decide we want to get out of the JPA and we want to be done with this? That you guys said there was no cost, it was just a matter of time because same as getting in. But is that true? Is there any cost to the county or the citizens on that PG&E charges you a higher rate for coming back because they consider you a disloyal customer, or you guys charge an exit fee? Like, I want to make sure everyone has a clear eye going into this. Like, what would happen if it went sideways?
There are no exit fees. The primary consideration has to do with time, because the same way we need time to procure the load for you, PG&E would have to make some provisions. How they handle reentry back at PG&E is a little bit different. So I can't speak to exactly how they would handle it. But in general, there are no fees to join Pioneer or to leave Pioneer. The biggest consideration for individuals is that if a customer leaves Pioneer, they have to wait 12 months before they can come back. And then if the county were to leave Pioneer, there would be resolution and JPA considerations.
Supervisor Holland, I'm sorry, I just want to be clear because you asked the question. There is continuing liability pursuant to the JPA agreement. So it's set forth in 15B, and it talks about that the member shall remain responsible for claims, demands, damages, liabilities arising from the membership through the date of its withdrawal. So when it participates until it withdraws. So I just want to be clear there. It would be some, I don't know what that looks like, but for your board to have knowledge, yes, there would be something that is continuing.
Would that be on the county, Sarah, or as the citizens?
That's the member, the county. That's the way that the JPA reads, is that there, and there is, of course, a timing in how much notice you have to give if the county wanted to withdraw from the JPA.
So maybe either one of you guys could answer that then, looking at that question, because I think more people worry about, like, obviously you guys are talking about basically doubling your size with all these other groups that want to join. If you guys can't purchase enough power to supply everybody all of a sudden, and you guys find yourself in a financial pinch and have to go bankrupt or something, and somebody else has to step in, are we then on the hook for paying the electricity bill to cover that gap of something? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. No, and so just so you know, we procure power in long-term contracts, so that would not be the concern. And in terms of Pioneer's financial strength, we do have an A- credit rating from S&P Global. We have considerable financial strengths, and we have more than adequate reserves. So,
how far out are you guys buying contracts for?
They can be 5, 10, 15, long term. And then to be very clear, in the event of an inclement weather event, say a protracted heat wave, there are times when we do buy on the spot market, and we actually plan for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other board questions? Supervisor Kirk.
I was just going to say thank you for answering my question and asking it. So now I don't have any questions.
Great.
Thank you.
Any others? All right. With that, we'll open it up for public comment on this item. Any members of the public would like to speak about the CCA power item, please speak now. Thank you for your patience with us on the bureaucracy. Welcome.
My name is Richard J. London. I'm a local resident up in Confidence, and I rise in support of Pioneer's work. I have been in contact with Pioneer, and we seek down the road to provide power to Pioneer from our Confidence Ridge solar pump storage project, in which we are extracting water from the Confidence mine for fire protection, and also to provide power at night while having solar power in our backyard. And so I rise in support of Pioneer. I talked to them about our project, and I thank Mike for his comments. They're very worthwhile, and we need to do this in more places within the county, of having a mineral industry source for power, because there's a lot of water in the mines in the county, and all that water plus 40 acres can put a lot of people's power bill down. and I thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other comments on this item? And if you don't mind, if you're planning to make comments, if you don't mind kind of lining up, it's always helpful to keep it moving a bit, but welcome.
Hi, first time doing this stuff, so a little nervous. Anyway, my name is Keith. I've worked in the utility industry for over 30 years. I've had 1,000 hours of rate analysis. I just want to bring up a couple of points that I think the board should look into before going forward with this. The numbers that are being thrown out by Pioneer, I cannot find on the internet. I did go to PG&E. There is a joint PG&E Pioneer rate analysis study. It's available. There is also on the internet an older one from March 1st, 2022. The one on PG&E site is October 1st, 2024. What I'm looking and seeing is the difference between PG&E's rates and Pioneer's rates is shrinking quickly. 3 to 5 years ago, it was a 10% difference that they claimed. In March 1st of 2022, you'll see if you look on that rate analysis that's available on the web, it was 7.3. Today, it's October 1st, 2024, shows that it was down to 1.6. At the rate this is happening, Pioneer's rates will catch PG&E's rates and surpass them. There are reasons for this. A lot of the old utilities have hydro. Hydro is extremely cheap. And so when they have to go out onto the market and purchase the renewables at the same market that Pioneer has, they all have access to that same electricity. They can subsidize, they can lower their prices by running this hydro. Don Pedro for TID has about 55-60% of their mix. It's extremely cheap. So when TID has to go out and purchase electricity, they have this extremely cheap electricity in the background. So all I'm saying is you should probably check out the rate analysis. I hear up to 24% savings, but I think that is in the first entities that joined Pioneer. And I think as the new entities join, you're going to see less and less of that. It is not guaranteed that Pioneer's rates are cheaper than PG&E and will remain that way. Renewables are extremely expensive, and that's what's available on the market. And as subsidies go away, those prices are going to increase some more. So I would ask Pioneer, what is going to stop this trend from 10% to 7% to 1%? And that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, supervisors. So you guys are the smartest in the room, so I actually don't really know a lot of the things that I'm going to ask, so more or less just questions. So the first question I have is, I don't understand why this utility in particular is covered by you guys and not actually covered under TUD. And so by putting it with the utility district, then they're able to actually maybe know a little bit more of the details and maybe be in a better position to maybe make better informed decisions and then possibly propose to you guys. And then the second question I have is that I know that it's getting pushed up to the 11th, that you guys are going to vote on it like right away. And so I'm just wondering if maybe there's no reason for that immediate push forward and that we wait a little bit of time and maybe think a little bit more thoroughly through it before we make that decision. Yeah, thank you guys.
Great, thank you. I believe, just as a technical answer on that, I believe it has to be a city or county to join a CCA, not a utility district, and I'm getting a head nod. The second is that today we are approving the first reading of an ordinance. That's generally the one where we do the approval. The second one is often the more kind of procedural one that would be the 11th. So that clarifies. Do we have any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, bring it back to the board. I only wanted to say that I equally appreciate Supervisor Holland's questions. I have taken great pleasure in grilling you guys via email into your load adequacy studies, looking at your financial statements, going through your energy profiles and what you file with the state. I appreciate that because there were some questions that I had about a newer CCA, a rural CCA, and all of that was satisfactorily answered. I'm proud to say, go put this on a pamphlet, that the most suspicious thing about Pioneer Energy is actually that it makes kind of so much sense, which is why it prompted me to want to dive in and say, make sure this is not so too good to be true. So
Thank you, Supervisor.
I'll open it up for any board discussion or board comments. Supervisor Kirk?
Just a question to the gentleman in the room about the trends. Could you speak to that by chance?
Yes, so there are a number of variables that factor into how rates are set, one of which is what's called the PCIA. It's the Power Charge Indifference Adjustment, and it is actually what is built into rates because there are so many, when a customer or a territory joins Pioneer Community Energy or any CCA, there is a formula built into the rate setting that makes us have to reimburse PG&E for the customers who have left on the assumption that they have already, PG&E has already purchased power for those customers. So with all due respect, he actually had the calculation a little bit different because our newer customers are actually enjoying the greatest savings. And part of that is because PG&E locked into expensive contracts early on, and now some of those contracts are starting to fall off. So, for example, Grass Valley and Nevada City, which joined Pioneer in January of 2024, actually have the biggest savings for this year based on their PCIA, and that's roughly 24% under PG&E's generation rate. El Dorado County, which joined back in 2022, has the second largest savings at 22%. And then if I may just add one other point of clarification. For 2025, all customers will save a minimum of 4%, and then that range is somewhere between 4 and 24% with an average savings of 10% across all of our customers.
And that's on the generation portion?
That's only on the generation portion. PG&E owns the lines and poles, so they will always charge for the transmission and delivery.
Okay. My last question is, and sorry if this was in the details or in the summary, but what will we be getting an annual presentation? Is there board representation still on this board? I guess I'm curious if that day does ever come where it doesn't make sense, how will we know? Are we going to be getting updates annually?
So there are a couple different things that I think this board should be aware of. One is before we ever come into Tuolumne or Sonora, we would do a pretty robust public information and outreach campaign so that your residents and businesses know exactly what's going on. And that would take a number of different forms, including presentations and public meetings, town halls. We would start partnering with civic and fraternal organizations, work in partnership with your staff to figure out who we should be talking to and where we should be so people really understand that. But also, and very importantly, should you join Pioneer, the county would then have a seat at the table and voting rights, equal weighted voting rights on the board. So you would be involved actually in the decision-making process.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments? Supervisor Griefer?
I just want to the gentleman who asked about, making sure that we don't rush into this. We could say yesterday, and as you said, down the road a year from now, we could all look at and say, this isn't good for us. We could still back out.
So there are a few procedural things that you should be aware of. One is we are getting ready to file an implementation plan with the California Public Utilities Commission in March. And that plan will include serving power and purchasing load for Tuolumne County. We will come back after there's no reason to believe the CPUC will deny that plan. We will come back after that plan is approved and ask one more time, does the county still intend to join Pioneer Community Energy with the October 2027 service launch? At that point, there is still one more off-ramp. If you say yes, then we immediately will go out and start buying power. So that's how it should work if you plan to join. But down the road, if you want to leave the JPA, there is a mechanism in place where you could do that. You could leave the JPA. You could also leave and join another CCA if you wanted to. The ruling on that is you cannot be a member of two CCAs simultaneously, but you can leave our CCA and join another CCA sequentially. So it really is just part of the plan. You would have to plan for it.
Great. All right. Supervisor Holland?
And I know the county's talked about this in the past, but for all the people out there, this is an option. You can stay with PG&E if you choose to. Like, we're just going to provide you another option. So if you like PG&E and you like the full bill from them, you're still going to get a bill from them, but you can stay their customer. There's that option to opt out and stay there. So we're just trying to provide another option that may be cheaper to the citizens and may have some savings. And then we can decide from there. But
Great. My comments on this is just looking at it. What we are offered is flexibility, I think, with the plans that they're able to choose, but also which one they would like to be served, and appreciate the comment. More local control. We don't have a seat at the table. This gives us a seat at the table on at least a part of that bill. It allows us to reduce local rates at some level based on those projections. And then looking at rural partnerships and support for biomass, which is something that Pioneer stands out in. So I appreciate that. And Supervisor Campbell?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think I just don't want to oversell it to community members that I don't want people expecting that they're going to see a huge reduction in their bills. That's not going to happen. However, there might be a small reduction. But to me, the real benefit of this is that it opens us up to other opportunities with emerging markets in the energy field. And we're working with other rural communities that have the same interests that we do. That to me is the real benefit. And so, most people on day one aren't going to see a big impact on their bill, but over time, 10 years from now, if we're investing and getting involved in these other areas, we really could see some of those substantial benefits. So it's, to me, as long as people keep it in mind that this is a long game process that we want to get involved in, I think that's where the real benefits are going to come. So, and I'm supportive of it. I think thinking long term, the energy needs of our state are going to be increasing clearly. And with the communities that I've worked with in the past that have been proactive and taken as much of their own autonomy as possible early on, those are the ones that benefit long term. And so if we're thinking in those ways, that's what I'm really supportive of.
Well, normally I would be asking for a motion, but this is something that I've nerded out about a lot. So if you'll indulge me, I'd like to make a motion to support joining Pioneer Energy as a community choice aggregation and on all the listed items for the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by me, and we have a second by Supervisor Campbell. We'll bring it up for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you, and thank you, Robbie, for being with us as well on this. All right, so we've just finished our 11 a.m. item. With that, it's only 5 minutes before we will hit 12. We're trying to be as tidy as we can with that. So we have a little bit of extra time before, and we can maybe discuss in a 10 minutes or so about lunch and closed session if we wanted to move that way. I'd like to reopen, as mentioned, oral communications. Yeah, reopen oral communications for, let's give it 15 minutes. If there are folks who were not able to speak about any items that were not on the agenda, as promised earlier, we were just delaying that so we could hit our 10 a.m. I'll open that back up. Sir.
Hello, my name is Levi Lowe. I come today because I'm the uncle of the young man that was assaulted. And, we had an amazing turnout last night for the city. It was incredible to see people come together with differences, right? With people who believe in different agendas. And, I trust the Lord with all my heart, right? I serve God. That's my purpose. And there's people who disagree with that. But that wasn't the focus point. The focus point was the community that we live in and how do we make it better and safer. My father worked almost 40 years for Sonora Post Office. He He coached, he refereed Sonora High School, Somerville High School for years. I've got family that was born and raised here. I was born and raised here. And out of all these years of being here, it was a hope with my father and my mother that this place would be a place of being able to raise up their children, to have dreams and visions and goals and accomplish it. And unfortunately, with this matter that happened, it robs people. It takes away that joy. It takes away that hope. And so I ask that you guys would come together to create, as the voice of the people that we trust most, you guys, to be in the position to set the example, to be a beacon of hope, and hopefully it'll spread to different communities. That, hey, Tuolumne County is a place where you can go freely, come and go, and be blessed doing so. It's a safe haven. It's this place that is set apart and set aside. Man, I want to raise my family there for generations to come because of this place. And so I urge you and I ask that you guys would create something to come against, to show people we don't stand for this. We will not give in to this terror, but we will stand together. And I believe, even though this horrific act happened to my nephew, I believe that there will be a good out of this, that there will be a unifying of the community coming together and be able to set apart their differences and come together as one, to just love your neighbor as yourself, to look out for people, to be a difference, to be a light. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? And this is on general items, not on the agenda. So welcome back.
Yes. One China Research Institute in 2012 proposed through various organizations, and at that time we were with the program over at the Old County Hospital, to have a drone program in Tuolumne County that was supported by the Department of Defense, that we had a drone system, a Predator drone system, that could drop 3,000 pounds of water or retardant on a drone when it just starts firing. And based over here in the airport. We took this information over to UC Merced. Merced said, we don't deal with amateurs. Go away. We have the program. We have the project. The drones are sitting over there at Davis Monthan Air Force Base. We would like the county support in order to get one and tell our legislator that we need one here. They're surplus, and they work. Thank you very much. And I'm Rich London with One China Research Institute. And Anaya knows I've been in contact with him a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Again, for oral communications not on the agenda. Yes. Welcome back.
Thank you. I would just like to say that next week, from February 14th to the 20th, is considered Kindness Week, and maybe we should consider that. Calaveras County does a lot for their kindness. They do it in January, I think it is, through their superintendent of schools office. But maybe we ought to do something, because I think, as you all know, I am not in favor of doing blanket resolutions and then nothing else. If we're going to do a resolution, then we need to do something more tangible. And I've been very disappointed with a lot of outrage, but no one has really, very few people have come up and made positive suggestions. This is what we want to do for public outreach. This is what we're going to do for public education. It's just come in and make it better, and I'm not sure that's necessarily your role. So I don't want to see an empty resolution. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Okay, so with that, we will close oral communications from this morning. And if you know any of the folks that were waiting for a while and maybe they had to leave, please give them our apologies. We're trying to make sure we have as much space to speak as possible and still be able to conduct business. So thank you also for those in being able to stay and speak to us. It's greatly appreciated. So with that, I'll be looking to the board. It is 12 o'clock. Normally, we would recess for an hour for lunch. We do have a closed session, so I leave the option any comment if we would like to take an hour lunch or move into a closed for us. I think. Anybody, I would prefer to work through lunch and have a closed session item if that's fine, in the interest of time and getting out a little earlier. Yeah. I think we might be on track to potentially be ending relatively early. Well, let's take the 1 hour lunch then, and then we'll come back at 1. Is that okay? All right. Still feeling out everybody's preferences about lunch, so.
I just don't want our staff hangry.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, everybody. Welcome back. We are calling the meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. After our lunch period there. Just had one announcement for good order on the agenda is that the 1:30 appointment, public hearing regarding the Tuolumne County Master Fee Ordinance has been pulled, so we will not be doing that hearing later today at staff recommendation. So we'll be moving right now into item 15. The board clerk would read that.
Number 15, closed session, conference with labor negotiators, Roger Root, acting county administrator, Liz Peterson, deputy county administrator, Karen McGettigan, human resources director / risk manager, and Deb Schumann, human resources manager, authority government code section 54957.6, all bargaining units.
Great, thank you. And just for clarity, we will be doing item 15, which is closed session, so we'll be adjourning into that. We will then, upon returning, go into item 13. That is the presentation on the proposed budget reductions, which is a public item. We'll be doing item 18, which is the board request after that, and then finishing with the other 3 closed session items. So that's the order. So with that, we'll adjourn to closed session. Or not adjourn. Oh, public comment. Thank you so much. You got. Where's those yellow bean bags? There we go. So we'll open up public comment. Any member of the public that would like to speak on item 15, please rise. You have up to 3 minutes.
Good morning or good afternoon to the Board of Supervisors. This is John Flynn, your political watchdog. Take a bite out of crime. Arf, arf, arf. That's enough of that. Okay.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now, I got a lot to talk about, so here we go. Okay, come on, we did that. I have a lot to talk about. I want to say thank you to the maintenance department for fixing the outside light ceiling light for female public servants.
And Mr. Flynn, just for clarification, this is not oral communications like at the beginning of the meeting for non-agendized items. This is on item 15 specifically, which is closed session conference with labor negotiations.
Oh, is there any public comment at all?
We did do actually 2 rounds of oral communications this morning as we normally start that in the agenda.
Okay, I rarely come here. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments? Again, this is limited to item 15, closed session conference with labor negotiators. Welcome back.
Of course. Don't I always stay till the very end? So I know that you're going to have some budget shortfalls, and I'm aware of that, but some of your employees are grossly underpaid, and they do horrible jobs that I couldn't do. So I would just like you to be mindful of the message that you send to your employees and not automatically assume that everybody's going to get nothing and be happy about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? As long as it's on item 15. Normally you can't make another comment, but I'm not going to count the first one since it was a mistake. So go ahead.
All right. John Flynn, your political watchdog, close second Roger, is he going to get a big substantial raise? He was the assistant for Tracy Riggs, and she resigned the last board meeting and caught everybody off guard. And he was getting by with that. Is he going to get like a $50,000 raise plus, or can we? Because you're awarding money to a lot of people, but we don't have how about taking care of other people? That's true, and that's what I want to know. Is he going to get a big fat raise? I don't think he should, but that's just my opinion. He can $20 over from his last income. That would save money for other employees. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Open up any last comment. Okay, with that, we'll close public comment and move into our closed session. I believe we're doing that in the law library, correct? All right, and we will be back TBD, but thanks everybody for hanging in with us. Okay, we're reconvening the Board of Supervisors meeting at 3:50. Looking to council if we have a report out. We do not have a report out, so we'll be moving into well, we have items basically 12 and 18 that are on the public agenda there. I believe we're moving into item 12. Make sure we're all on the same page. All right, with that, will the clerk? Do I have the, oh, I think I grabbed an old agenda off my desk. Yes, sorry, there was one that was added. Yeah, we'll be moving into item 13, if the clerk will please read.
Item number 13, presentation on proposed budget reductions and consideration of providing direction for the fiscal year 24-25 mid-year budget. Item 15 will not be heard before this item is called.
Great, thank you. And I do want to say, just for a sec too, I appreciate, I know it's approaching 4 o'clock, everybody waiting in the back. I know that was a long meeting. We're taking these discussions very seriously, and I wanted to thank everybody for your work and your ideas and what you're bringing forward for what we're trying to do. So what we're all trying to get together. With that, there we go.
Thank
Liz.
you. Liz Peterson, Deputy County Administrator. So on January 14th, your board was presented with the updated trends and projections, looking at the general and the fire funds for the next couple years, which continued, of course, to project budget shortfalls in those coming years. Essentially, it's because expenses are growing faster than revenue. So as a result of that meeting, your board established very clear priorities to focus on public safety services and then provided the following direction to staff. First, that all general fund departments should reduce their budgets by 15% in fiscal year 25-26, and that should also happen in this current fiscal year, but that would be prorated by about a third is what we're looking at. Secondly, that public safety departments are excluded from those cuts, and your board was very specific about which departments are a part of that public safety wheel, and they're listed here. But animal control, district attorney, probation, and juvenile hall, public defender and conflict counsel, and then the sheriff's office, all 4 of his cost centers. And then thirdly, that these cuts in this fiscal year and the cuts proposed for next fiscal year should be permanent, and they should be long-term. So this is the looking at all of the remaining departments and then looking at those other cost centers that we have in the general fund that are either grant funded or there's no opportunity to cut or very little opportunity to cut. Say, think like outside agency partners is a cost center, and that's where we have our Visitors Bureau contract or some of those others. This is the departments with their 15% prorated cuts for fiscal year 24-25, so this current fiscal year. So we are looking at about $1.8 million in total cuts across all of these departments. I do want to just mention a couple things. So once your board gave that direction, we immediately the next morning met as a department head team. And we have met numerous times as department heads and budget teams since that time. It's only been 3 weeks, but it's been fast and furious. And I just want to say a couple things about the budget team in particular. So we hadn't been meeting for a little while, and so I was very happy to revive that team. And just for your board and the public's awareness, the budget team is every single department head and then their key fiscal staff. We all get together in a room for collaboration and transparency. That's the goal. And so just a couple of things that the budget team talked about when we first got back together. One of the things that they all agreed to was in their code of conduct that they don't want to undermine decisions that's to the board that are made by that team. They want to operate as a team. Another thing that they brought up is that disagreements are good and that they're healthy. And so we have lots of open, transparent conversation in budget team. And I think that ultimately gets us to a collaborative and team-oriented product for your board. Your board directed to 15% and the departments who should be cutting. But the way that we got here, I am very proud to say, is collaborative. It was positive. It was solutions-focused. And I do believe that that continues to be the attitude from your departments. And I feel like that's important for you all to know, and specifically for the public. And then one other thing that I want to mention too, the budget team also talked about what would need to happen this year for them to feel like they were a success. And one of the things that they identified was they want to find enough to address the compensation and then also to meet your board's expectations. That was what they feel like. If they can do that, then they feel like they will be a success. So I just want you to have that framework as we're talking about this, to know that your budget team, which is your department heads and the broader group, they are in on the mission. So let's see. I think also I just want to mention too that there is a recognition and appreciation for the clarity of the priorities that your board has set. And every department that was asked to make the 15% reductions, as the list here, has proposed to do so. And furthermore, what I think is also important is I think because of the teamwork that we have on that budget team, your public safety departments who were told not to cut have voluntarily contributed some reductions or some additional revenue in those areas where it's not going to impact their service, but because they want to be a part of the solution as well. So with the recognition that county revenues are limited, the reality is that prioritizing some services for the public means that some will be reduced. That's just reality. As your board knows, after numerous attempts at increasing taxes, we believe as staff that the community has been adamant that the county organization needs to focus on the community's priorities of public safety, and your board's direction, of course, aligns with those community expectations. So with this perspective, all non-public safety departments are proposing reductions in their services and changes to the revenue structure to align with the community's priority for robust public safety services. And I do want to highlight this too. While departments may be proposing a service reduction to achieve the 15% target that your board set, your team is simultaneously developing creative solutions to minimize the impacts to these cuts. And I really want to stress that. What is contained in the board memo is just the reality and objective reality of some services that may be reduced or some cuts that might happen, but this is not the end all, that your departments are still very much committed to figuring it out as a team to minimize the impact to the community. And then, of course, your department heads are here. I think most, or probably all of them, are here to speak if you have any questions specifically about those service reductions. So, next steps. Hold, please. Okay, so on March 4th, your board will be asked to approve the budget changes for this current fiscal year, 24-25. That will be also when we take the mid-year budget review, which is something that we've been doing over the last many years, which is just that kind of middle of the year look at the budget. Starting tomorrow through May 30th we will be working again as a county team to explore cost efficiency ideas, look at strategic reorganizations and other things like that. And then on June 17th, we will be bringing the fiscal year 25-26 budget to your board for final adoption. And as note, the 15% reduction to non-public safety departments will be included in that budget, and there will be no growth to the public safety departments also in that budget. Okay, so for staff recommendation, it's requested that the board provide further direction on the proposed reductions that have been submitted from your departments, as well as any direction on the development of next year if you have specific things you want to see for next year, but knowing that we have lots of time, relatively, compared to the 3 weeks that we've been working on this stuff, to iron out a lot of these details. But if there is something specific that you want to make sure is or is not included in next year's budget, please let us know, as well as anything for this fiscal year. Specifically, We are looking for direction on moving OES and animal control to another department. If your board wants us to explore that, please let us know. Also, any other considerations that may impact multiple departments. If your board wants us to explore consolidations or reorgs or something like that, please let us know here and we will work on that. And then lastly, this is just minor, but I just need some clarification from your board. Since fire is not included in the general fund, it was not specifically brought up in the direction that we discussed on the 14th. So I just need some clarification. I have a hunch, I know, but I just need clarification from you here, that you want to keep county fire services funded at the level that they are right now, which is 5 engines. So if you could just let me know that at some point, that'd be great. Secondly, then we are looking for a recommendation that, we're looking for a direction that you allow us to work with all the departments to refine those proposed cuts that they have submitted to you for approval on March 4th. And then that would be inclusive of any direction that your board has, as well as any operational needs that the department has, that you let us work with departments to kind of refine that for what we bring to March 4th, for you on March 4th. And then lastly, looking for your board to allow us some time, we're talking a couple months, not a couple years, to work strategically towards some long-term cost efficiencies, other permanent reductions in services or whatever, consolidations, reorganizations, and then revenue growth opportunities that we would implement in 25-26. So there you go.
Great.
Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, and appreciate the brevity and focus of the presentation, as well as all the contributions in the summary memo of what's happening there. I did want to ask, so within this process, we have the survey that's gone out.
Yes.
We talked about that previously. So with those submissions, these are going to be entering into that up to May, I think, 4th period of looking at cost efficiencies and stuff.
That's right. Yeah. So we did have a survey that went out to all staff as well as to your board, and we have compiled those responses, and so we will utilize that. In the item number 3 there is we're working strategically looking at stuff to implement for next fiscal year, or stuff to include in the budget, or maybe how to reframe or reorganize things. We will bring that back to your board in likely a workshop style setting where your board will you'll be able to see all of the responses that have been submitted and then give some direction to us about maybe some of those things you would like us to pursue. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. And I think in this, we're looking at, what do we need to do to get financially stable? I appreciate all the ideas that have been sent in too, because I'll tell you, as somebody who does not have the expertise, even close to it, of pretty much everybody in this room, I'd like to say that please give us a better idea. And I know that you've been working very actively together. One of the things we had talked about ahead was providing the opportunity, rather than going through the service impacts and that which are, I think, listed for our edification, was being able to speak to any of the ongoing work so far, collaborations between departments, things that are exciting, things that you are currently looking into. I really wanted to highlight some of these really great ideas that I keep hearing about through staff. So I wanted to invite any members of the staff who wanted to maybe mention where there is some work happening with another or something explored, to be able to come and speak to it.
It is a little early, I think, in the process, but just a couple examples that I am happy to give if others are not. Is we are looking at...
It's either that or the popsicle sticks with all their names on it.
I mean, and feel free to jump in. Really.
Go, Liz, yeah.
But we are looking at, say, some of our grant-funded positions, or like the grants that we've acquired, it's many millions of dollars. And so one of the things that, say, I have talked to the auditor's office about is consolidating the fiscal component of the grants and utilizing their expertise to ensure that the processes are consistent as far as what they need and expect. And then there can be more of a programmatic focus on the grant positions. Another one, Chief Hawks, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but he did offer up some potentially, I mean, there's some hoops to jump through, but some revenue opportunity to partner with recreation. Thanks.
Dan, thanks for being the first one to break the ice there.
The apple strainer here. Good afternoon. So yeah, we have several different funding streams that primarily affect our juvenile services, probation services, and We've had multiple positions that have been unfilled for multiple years now. We've deferred some revenue, and kind of just realized that we're going to give up on that, trying to fill those positions and do other things with it. And I think there's ways that we can save general fund dollars, but also support recreation programs for at-risk youth and do some delinquency prevention services with them. There's other things we're looking at as well that I think will ultimately reduce our reliance on the general fund to save money for the county. And I don't think we're going to diminish services either. So but there's a lot of discussions going on as well with our Community Corrections Partnership, CCP, on how we can, utilize funds differently, and great cooperation amongst that group on, looking at things and taking everything into consideration to find savings. So good stuff happening.
Great.
Thank you.
Dan, I appreciate that. And oh, great. Wonderful. Quincy, welcome. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Quincy Ely, Community Development Department Director. We have a lot of the development services programs that we offer to our community in our department, but we don't do that alone. We are tied closely with folks that are in the Public Works Department, as well as actually in Fire Prevention Bureau, and a few others. And so I've been wanting to wrap back around on the audit that we did with all of those partners as to what are the different components of the development process and where can we make things more efficient. And so we're looking forward to meeting as a team and identifying not necessarily duplicities. I don't think that there are things that all those departments are doing that are the same, but if there are any efficiencies that we can gain with combining forces in terms of inspections or reviews, either things that I work on that can go somewhere else, or things that other people work on that we can provide to the community.
Great. Thanks, Quincy. And I appreciate that. I won't beleaguer that anymore, only to say that I know there's a lot of really good conversations, and I want to encourage that and that creativity, and that we can be a very innovative space and a safe space for those ideas. So thank you for that. With that, I'll bring it back to the board if anybody would like to move in. I know I've got some written comments, but I'll hold those towards the end. Supervisor Kirk, did you want to start?
Sure. Be the guinea pig. So thank you, everybody, for sending in your thoughts. Our board, I think a few weeks ago, we were ready to make some decisions, but we knew that we need to slow down and just get everybody to send us their ideas. Some of the ideas were great, some of them weren't, and so we're going to have to make decisions either way. This is a math problem. It's not a personal. It's a math problem. So we got to solve it. With that being said, I'm just going to go through the slideshow real quick and just give you my thoughts, trying to answer some of your questions. On slide 2, excludes public safety. Can we add fire into public safety?
Absolutely.
And we had a conversation a few weeks ago about moving sheriff to the same, what was the line item? Was it?
Moving the sheriff out of the general fund into their own governmental fund?
Right, but now the conversation is actually moving everything out
moving
of
fire into the general
and that's
fund.
because there's a savings with
887.
887. Okay, so we're gonna just want to clarify that. It sounds like we're gonna do that.
That will be my recommendation when I bring budget to you. Yes.
Okay. On the next slide, when it comes to library, county recreation, standard park, and youth centers, my recommendation would be no cuts. Standard park, though, I still would like to open up the conversation of potentially offloading that someday with a deed restriction. So I don't know if this is the right place to point that out, but that's what I like to see done with standards. Still have that open for conversation if the rest of the board or 3 members of the board agree with me. But my recommendation is no cuts to those areas. When it comes to the Resilience Center, it looks like there's a $16,000 cut. But I'm still interested, when that whole Resiliency Center was pitched to this board, it was going to be a net gain of $11,000. And my understanding is it's a $250,000 draw. So I see that we're making a cut, but I want to see a plan in the next couple months to make that a net neutral cost. So I don't know if we're going after the contracts or the lease agreements or with whoever all those partners were, but I would like some movement on that.
Yeah,
If the
that, and
rest
you're
of the board
exactly
agrees.
right, that when we look at that particular cost center, there's not a lot to cut because it's primarily utilities and,
Right.
use of the building. It's revenue. That's what we look at. So it's the fees that we charge as well as the leases that we have or
Okay.
maybe don't have that we can pursue. Yeah.
But my point is, it could be instead of being a draw, it could
Yes.
be a net neutral. So is
Yeah.
there a plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
I just want to speak to this. On the next slide, it says June 17th. It says a 15% reduction. I don't know, but I could see us going deeper than 15% in some departments, depending on, having to make up grounds for it. So I just want people to be clear. And then could you make it clear for everybody what no growth in public safety department budgets means?
Yes, so every department, and I did list it there when I say budgets from the fiscal year 25-26 projection. So in December, every department submitted a projected budget for next year, and that's what we used to build the projections that we presented on January 14th. So we have a clear revenue and expense and therefore net county cost. And so what departments have been directed as far as the growth or no growth is whatever that net county cost is, particularly for the public safety departments, they cannot exceed that for 25-26. So there may be some instances, because the reality is mandated costs, as we know, we don't have a whole lot of control over those, some, but not a whole lot. We've got rent and other contracts and things that do go up that we, again, don't have a whole
Or
lot of control
compaction.
over. Yeah, or whatever, salaries and benefits increase. So there may be some instances where in order to keep at that net county cost for our public safety departments, they may still need to make some cuts or bring in some revenue, additional revenue.
Okay.
But they have a.
What about
I'm
positions?
in
like
my mind seeing
if
the
the sheriff
spreadsheet,
has like
but-
50 deputies,
Oh, for
and
people,
he loses
yes.
3 or 4,
No,
can
no,
he fill
yes,
those 3 or
yes,
4?
yes, thank you.
Okay.
So for what no growth means is the number of allocated positions per department will remain. As vacancies come and go, they'll be able to fill those.
Okay.
They will not increase in number of positions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then on the last, I think it's the last page, board provide further direction. Yes to OES and animal control, having those conversations, doing more research on it.
Great.
I've had some conversations with folks, my opinions going back and forth, so I like to vet some of that stuff out.
Great.
And then yes, other consolidations, nobody's exempt from potential consolidation or merging. We have to look at all of those to look at efficiencies. As far as keeping fire services at current levels, yes.
Thank you.
Let's see. Yes, to number 2. And then it says allow time for strategically work towards long-term cost efficiencies for the 2025-26. I would like to see, I don't know if it's going to be a public conversation or if it's impacting positions, but when I hear that we're going to have a conversation at the budget conversation in June, I want to make sure you guys have a plan like in April.
We will bring.
Get it in
Yes.
April and fine tune it so that we're ready to make
Yes.
a decision.
So what we
in
bring
June.
to you in June will be wrapped up in a
Okay.
pretty little bow. Everything's balanced,
Okay.
good to go.
It's not the
Yes.
beginning, it's
It
the end
will
of
be
that
pretty
conversation.
rare.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And then I'm going to submit recommendations for things that will be impacting bargaining, which I can't disclose publicly, but I'll be making some recommendations for those as well. And then also, at what point, we need to have a conversation about what to do with these, if there's any one-time savings moving forward. We need to make sure that's put in this, maybe not this presentation, but in that budget meeting. If we need to know what to do if there's going to be any savings, and not putting them towards long-term or ongoing expenses.
Do you mean like fund balance? Is
Sure.
that what you're referring to by one time?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get with
Yeah.
you after.
Okay,
to
perfect.
be
Yeah.
clear.
Yep.
So that is it in a nutshell, and thank you.
And Supervisor Campbell, you get in next.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Liz, for the overview. I agree with Supervisor Kirk on, I think, most of those points. So I may have to repeat a couple of them just to make sure. Excuse me. So yes, I agree on, I think youth center, Standard Park, recreation library, are such a small, contribution into the 1.8 million, and yet I think our community gets so much utility out of those services. I really don't think that should be included. So I don't support touching library, county rec, Standard Park, or youth centers. For that reason, I think those should be kept out. Another couple of, and this is going to the department reductions targets slide. So I'll just start there. I'm kind of going backwards a little bit. So there's 4 at the bottom there, on the bottom left, or on the bottom right. The other thing, and I'm not sure, it says 35,000 from surveyor GIS. Surveyor, I know what GIS is, maybe less so what surveyor is. I don't know how that's broken down. I'm a little concerned about looking at GIS and making reductions there, because I know, having worked with them in a number of different capacities, that when you read in My Mother Lode or on the Union Democrat about the county was awarded a $3 million grant for fuels management, or a grant for home hardening, or all of these major funding streams that have come in from the federal and state government for natural resources, GIS is all over that. Like they are the unsung heroes of millions and millions of dollars of grant funds that have come into our county. So the idea of making a reduction there when for the cost of that department is really low. I think there's 2 or 3 people over there. That's another area I kind of don't want to touch and mess with, because I think it's a if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of scenario, and we're not talking about huge savings from that department anyway. So
Supervisor, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Speaking to bullet item number 2, that may be an opportunity where we can work with the department to see if there's any opportunity that they can, but recognizing that maybe.
Well, what I was going to suggest is maybe we look at fees, because I know that GIS operates, they get used to produce work for like Fire Safe Council, TUD, basically all the special districts. I think even the Forest Service has worked with them on a number of different things. So if there's a way to do some cost recovery there, I would more want to look at that than I would actually cutting the department, because I think it's working really well the way it is. So, and then going back to your first questions, yes, I agree with Supervisor Kirk completely. Fire is part of public safety, obviously. We shouldn't be cutting fire, especially when we put so much blood, sweat, and tears in getting it up to a place where I think it's functional and doing really well for our community, and has saved our butts more than once in the past couple of years. I really don't want to back off from that. And then I agree with the recommendation that it should be brought as a general fund cost item, because to me, the reason for that, I mean, there is potential funding benefits there, but for me, it's just kind of the statement that having it be a separate cost center implies that it's an afterthought, or that it's a temporary thing, that fire protection for our county is going to be temporary. There's no need for it to be a general fund department, but I think we need to recognize the fact that fire protection is a big, big part of what we do as a county government, keeping our county from burning down. So I think that acknowledgement is very, very important. Yeah, and I already talked about rec and library. Oh, okay, last thing I'll mention is I'm not going to say that we shouldn't necessarily do it, but if we go back to that slide, we have some cuts to HR. I would like to get more information about that, because when I think of the large unexpected expenditures that the county has had to make over the past several years, a lot of them resulted from liability and risk type areas. And so, yes, maybe we save $81,000 in human resources, but then for lack of having those services, somebody sues the county, and maybe we didn't do the paperwork right, or there's so many eyes and so much risk and liability to the county that if we don't do everything exactly right, it costs a great deal of money And all that means is that when the county gets sued, that means that's less money in the pot for all the things that we care about, like, sheriff, animal control, fire, libraries, all that stuff. There's anytime money comes out because of we didn't do our job correctly, that's just money that's coming out of the general fund, and I hate to see that. And it's definitely happened over the past years where we've spent money on lawsuits or to avoid lawsuits that I really felt we shouldn't have to. And that kind of originated, and it's a hell of a lot more than what we're talking about for HR right now. So I'm a little hesitant on agreeing to that one, but I'll kind of look to the views of my colleagues on that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Supervisor, would you mind speaking to
Sure.
would you like us to explore moving OES and animal control to different departments?
No, the reason for that is, again, the concept of if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think that the reason why, I'll just start with animal control, the reason why it's structured the way it is, because it was structured differently when I came on the board, we found in order to provide the service level, have the staffing, and be able to put more money into the actual facilities, which is extremely important. That's where the animals stay, and the conditions there were not really great when I came on the board. We had to find a way to cut costs. And so it was restructured the way it is now as a cost-saving effort. So I'd be open to other ideas that are out there, but as of right now, I'm kind of a no on that. OES, same thing. I think that it's functioned really well right now. I think there are ways that we could probably change some of the OES policies to attack some of the areas that are of greater concern, like if there are power outages or things that happen in the community where we need OES to step up for those, we can fix those. But I think the structure of it was, again, set up to maximize the use of grant funds that come into that department so that we're not spending general fund. And I think it's on there. Yeah, 61. So OES is already putting basically the money that we gave to them to do some of the outreach and some of these other problems. They're putting that back into the general fund, and I agree with that. I think that should happen. But as far as restructuring it, there's definitely probably other areas that I would restructure before I would do OES.
Great.
So, no.
Supervisor Griefer.
Thank you. So I'll jump into the OES animal control since I was the one who's kind of been leading this charge. I look at things from the view of optics of what is the role of government to make sure that we have services being provided, that the citizens of the community are enjoying the perks of paying their taxes, going to the parks and recreation, things like that. So I totally support your position on not touching any of the four that were listed on the slide, libraries, parks, and so forth. But additionally, I think we can do, originally I was going to push strongly to move OES into the Sheriff's Department for the reasons of consolidation, opportunities to raise more grant funds, going through different outlets and opportunities that the sheriff has. But I'm willing to hold off on that and pump the brakes right now just to do a little bit more research. However, with animal control, I do feel strongly that that is an organization which does a job there is no way I could do. There's just, my heart's too big to work in that world. I had no problems putting handcuffs on adults, but you hurt an animal and it would send me over the edge. So thank you and your staff for what you do there. But that also brings me to the point of quality of life for the staff, making sure that you have proper days off. And I'm not saying you don't. These are all, generalities, making sure that you have proper days off, making sure that there's 24-hour coverage. There's always a deputy on the street. So if there's a cow out somewhere or a goat and your people aren't available, we have opportunities. And by all means, I've talked to the sheriff in length about this, and he's not asking for this extra workload. He's working with me to make sure that we're providing the best service, not only for the people, but for you as the employees and the animals themselves. So I would ask the board to at least start the conversation of moving animal control to under the Sheriff's Department, and I'll let you guys decide how we want to do that. Regarding the CRCs, I don't know how you're going to make that break even without raising the fees more. Right now the Groveland one doesn't get used nearly as much only because they can't afford to use it. We have some organizations that give out dinners on Thanksgiving, and it costs them $1,800 just to hand out 400 dinners. We have another organization that had to spend almost $9,000 just to have a fundraiser in the building up there. So how do you get an already concerned population up there who's trying to make ends meet and do work that they feel is important for their community to pay even a higher fee to a building that they felt that they already paid for? So, so I don't know how you're going to do that. As regarding working together and having all of the department heads and organizations talk about finding a common solution to the overall problem that we have regarding the budget, I think it's great. So I want to commend every department head and their staff, as well as the CAO's office and legal and everybody who makes the wheels turn on this, because it's not an easy, position that we're in. The chickens have come home to roost, and now we're going to have to find a way to take care of the situation we're without making, and for me, it's also, as my partner here just said, these are positions, but they're also people. Right. And so that's how I want to look at it, too, is make sure that whatever decision is made, we're doing it for the right reasons and as clean and efficiently as possible. So I appreciate everything you've done. I agree with this, and I will turn it over to the chair.
Supervisor Holland.
As usual, I will just keep it short. Everyone said everything there is to be said. Liz, I'd say go work on 1, 2, and 3 as you presented it. Come back, give us some recommendations. I think that's about it, unless you need more direction than that.
So what I'm hearing is you do support exploring moving OES and animal control?
Yeah, we can explore it, yeah.
Okay.
Have that
And
conversation.
then you also are confirming no cuts to fire service?
Correct.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
And I like the idea of moving them in the general fund.
Great. Perfect.
Anything else?
Thank you. I think I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
Great. All right, and appreciate the comments, colleagues, and agree. I think what we're trying to do here is, what I want to get away from is, I think we've had a lot of years where we've done year-to-year budget shortfall changes to be able to make, rather than trying to more fundamentally put us on a path to recovery. So when I look at it, I see cuts as part of that and reductions, but I also see fee recovery, and I see revenue generation. We have to grow our way out. And I see that we have to also be supporting and developing our own talent locally to be able to hire, so and modernize and I think become more efficient. And all that's going to have to work together to get past just being able to make it for another year. Because I know we as a county, we've asked so much from our employees over a long period of time. So in these things specifically, I agree with Supervisor Campbell's comments on OES and animal control. I was exploring it. I spoke with them, was initially saying, I think this is a great idea to look at it. I think both of those are examples of things that are, I wouldn't even say just not broke. They're working very well, especially given what they're given. OES has brought in a lot of money and more than paid for, I think, the initial investment in that. And animal control has done fantastic with the resources that they're operating with. So personally, I'd like our time to go into investigating some of the other ideas. I do think we need to look at generally consolidations through a lens of what's going to create more process efficiency. It's going to save money. It'll look at positions. One of them would be reviewing financial positions, I think, across the county to see if there could be some type of unified approach that maybe is a little more centralized. And then also looking at particularly where we're dealing with building, planning, infrastructure, seeing what opportunities are there. I think we need to consider how to do that. And when it comes to county fire services, I do agree with the board. I think we need to maintain it, just recognizing that current level of service is 3 stations ahead of what it was, and with the grant fund expiring. So I know I kind of put out here what my goals are. One is address that first-year shortfall or 1-year shortfall. 2, for the safety investments and improvements made over the last 4 years, which has been a steady pace of road projects, the 3 fire stations, and investments in the sheriff's office to be competitive, maintaining those. And that's an expensive cost center, all of that combined. And the last bit is we have a lot of deferred building, road, maintenance, and PERS debt. And the PERS stuff is driving it. So I think this is a beginning of the conversation, but we are going to need very big ideas and bigger changes than just some of these reductions. So going through with these, I'm really excited to see what comes back for the May. I have got a few specific ones. I agree on exploring with YSF. I would take it a step further that we have broader discussions about asset transfer, particularly within Parks and Rec, where we're spending money to maintain it for a community rather than develop new amenities. If there are other entities that can take that on, I think that makes sense, and we should start those conversations. Parks and Rec districts, for example, community service districts, see if our tribal partners may be interested, or the city. I am also interested in some changes that would be under bargaining, but largely to say options for workforce flexibility that make us a more competitive hirer, looking at, and this is not specific to any positions. I think it's okay, so it's not going to get too mad at me, I hope. But looking at some of the things we see in the private sector, where there are explorations of less than 5-day work weeks, telecommuting, being able to supplement local work basically on contract, also looking at any changes within that. So is that okay? Okay, good. All right, I got a half head on. So I think that's something that'd be very interesting is the way that we have it set up for our employees still performing what we would like for county goals. Does it match the way that folks would like to work right now? Is that something that we can change a little bit? I'm very much in support of putting out an RFI to the other public agencies within our area, and I see two opportunities there. There are some where we could regionalize a fee-for-service model, where local agencies, taking, for example, IT, many other public agencies struggle with having IT capacity. I think that we could potentially become the contract to help alleviate that and centralize it and have an economy of scale. I think there's a lot of enterprise-type services we could explore that with. And so I fully encourage every department, if it's something that all the other public agencies do, why aren't we talking to see how we can do that all together? The second is some positions are highly specialized, hard to recruit and technical. They may be better at a regional level. There may be, for example, a council of governments opportunity to say, maybe we should look at, not to pick on IT, cybersecurity was a challenge. It's a skill set that's hard to find. Maybe that is something that makes sense on a 5-county model than a 1-county model. And I think that could save some stuff. I agree regarding GIS. And I think there's the options to make it potentially an internal service fund and similarly see if there's other clients willing to pay for it. I wanted to add in there that radio comms as well. We have one person in charge of radio communication in that. I think within the county, I think we can expand that to support some of the other agencies, but I'm really hesitant to cut that one cost center. I'd rather see how, if there are any A87 supports we can do to help support and offset that. Also, the grand jury as well. Personally, I think the grand jury is, it's an accountability entity on us and all of the community. It's not a ton of money in this. I think they should be exempt. I think it's both the optics and functioning of them we have to be very mindful of, and it'd be good to ensure they've got the resources that they need. I think it's $1,700 in here. Sorry, I'm going through the other stuff everybody brought up. I agree in the concerns about HR as well as council. I would like more information on that. One of the concerns I have is that liability from any of these cuts could be more expensive, and I just don't know. And I need to understand that a little bit better. There's also one thing, which is the Committee on Aging being canceled, I believe was one of the service impacts. I do see that it's a large amount for us to have to maintain. I would like to see it, if possible, giving them the chance and supporting them to make an independent advisory body. And I think doing some of those, like we've done with the Housing Collaborative, could be a lot easier for us, but also a forum to get that perspective and could be a model for other committees. I think if we just cut it, it might not reform and we might lose that team of folks. So, sorry, I know I'm trying to be shorter, but this is kind of a big one. I'll close up with, I kind of have 5, I guess, categories of what I'd like to see worked on between now and May, and I appreciate everybody that's helped with pretty much everything in this room, conversations about ideas and potentials. The first is modernizing processes. I think we need to create both a some type of incentive, potentially with reserves and contingencies, for the ideas that are coming forward from our employees on a pilot basis that could save more money. I think we need to create a fund to be able to buy some of those ideas and see where it's going to work. I think we also need a process improvement team between IT and finance, and that going around and being able to modernize processes within the county, separate from some of the routine work, and offering new skill sets and kind of cross-pollinating. The second big thing is the regionalizing fees for service, as I mentioned. Third would, I think, beyond with this one-year plan, I'd like to see this translated into a 5-year financial strategy. Some of these things we cannot immediately implement or even within 1 year. I think that would give us a lot more stability in knowing kind of what we end up needing to step up to do. And the last thing is we need to also, while we are making these cuts, be very mindful to invest in things which can create the revenue that we need. For me, that is housing, that is jobs, economic development, infrastructure, zoning. Ultimately, I think we are going to have to develop our way out of this into the long term with more property tax generation, sales tax, resorts. We need to do so smart and efficient, but that's something that's going to be critical. And that's a hard discussion because that means while we are cutting our teams and reducing budgets, there will be an area that I think we need to invest in because the long-term returns will prevent future kind of struggle with that. So we've all had our opportunity to basically speak on this. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to open it up for public comment on this item and encourage any staff would like to speak as well. Then bring it back. And I know, depending on the order, you might have heard an idea somebody said and want to comment. We'll bring it back for discussion on that and then make sure we have direction. Sound good? Okay. With that, open it up for public comment. A member of the public would like to come up. Please. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on the item, but you're lucky because this item's pretty much everything, so
oh my gosh,
you can't miss.
It's been a long day so far, and I'm super nervous. Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors and county staff. I am Eleanor Brennan. I'm a business owner and homeowner in District 1. I really appreciate you following up my call and reach out to you. On a Sunday, no less. I asked the Board of Supervisors to include body art practitioners permitting under the same protections as public health and safety, or place it as a topic for further discussion on the agenda. With input from the industry stakeholders, I asked the board to amend the body art practitioners permitting adopted under the recommendation of the hired consultant. The rates, it's not so much the cost of the rates. The body art practitioner's rate was multiplied 300%. It went from 137 last year to 433 this year. And I understand permit increases with the situation that's at hand, but there's unintended consequences to health and safety and the spread of bloodborne pathogens. I got an opportunity while you guys were on, I'm not sure it wasn't break, but it was a closed session to talk and go over to environmental health, which I love them, and just kind of work around some of the creative innovation of numbers and maybe some duplicative procedures that are inhibiting time and energy and like creative efforts to kind of get that budget into a normalized or more accessible space. The issue is that if you push, the permit's goal is to document and keep people visible, so that if there is a exposure of bloodborne pathogens, that we can continue, knowing where these things come from. At the current rate, I fear that more people will be practicing this in the homes, unregulated, and causing even more financial burdens to the county through bloodborne pathogens. So if there's anything we can do or put it on the agenda or continue behind efforts to work a more creative solution to streamline these movements, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bring it back up if we have any members of the public like to speak. Sam? And if I may just real quick interject with it, I know one of the things that is very important for us to try and avoid is any finger pointing. This is not on you. This is something I should have said earlier. Kelly, don't you go after everybody. It's looking at that we want to avoid that. You know, we are doing what we have to do, but, you know, not to put a platitude, we are one county team. We are all serving the public here. I don't want that to be a barrier to being able to come up and provide comment or suggestions on that, but to make sure that this is something that is constructive and we are getting through the difficult decisions, but this is all collective. So thank you for stepping up and being willing to speak. I don't want anybody to feel like you cannot comment on these things and I think participate in it. So,
good afternoon, Chair Brandon and members of the board. I'm Kelly Schroeder, your Tuolumne County Agricultural Commissioner, Sealer of Weights and Measures, Animal Control Director, and Air Pollution Control Officer. Here it goes. I'm in support of whatever is best for the county and my staff. If a concern is that they're not getting their vacation time or time off or available in the evenings, that's a great conversation to have. So I do have some concerns between the differences in the law enforcement and how the public could potentially interact, because right now they interact really well with my staff. But if they're seen as a portion of law enforcement from the sheriffs, the unhoused population might have some issues with them. Where right now I think we work really well with them. So just a few considerations that I think we need to talk about in the future, but I also have something else I'd like to say. So over the past 6 years, I've focused on building the agriculture, weights and measures, air pollution, and animal control teams. I understand that we're considering moving animal control over and that air pollution is potentially having its own director. So I'm proud to say that the Ag and Weights and Measures Department now has an exceptional team in place, one that is committed to a long-term career in the agricultural system and the county system. As I reflected on the future of the Ag, Weights and Measures Department, particularly in light of the proposed budget cuts, I realized that stepping away from Tuolumne County was the only way to safeguard my team's future. I have given this decision careful consideration, and I remain committed to supporting my team in every possible way. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to serve the constituents of Tuolumne County and the experience I have gained through my various roles here with you. Thank you, and I sincerely appreciate your time. Thank you.
And don't think this gets you out of us bringing you back up for a certificate and applause and everything. But thank you so much. All right, do we have any other comment?
Good afternoon, Karen McGettigan, your Human Resources and Risk Management Director. So I was asked to come up with a 15% cut. I already have a very lean department. As you know, I do not have software platforms. I don't use any kind of AI platforms that you're probably used to hearing HR departments use to screen applications and things like that. Everything we do is people. For 2 years, I have spent a lot of time trying to work on making sure everyone in my department is a generalist and can be moved into all our areas of purview. I do not want you to look at that list of proposed cuts of people and think that I'm in any way advocating that those positions should be cut, but if I need to cut 15%, it will be people. The other thing I want you to kind of consider and take away is that whenever there are layoffs in a workforce, that absolutely increases the workload on your human resources department. As you noted, Supervisor Campbell, about the increase in liability, investigations, resiliency, all of those things fully impact our department at a time when we are also being cut. That puts the staff in my office at a real disadvantage. And as you noted, they are also people. who are in the position of helping others while they're worried about their own livelihoods. So anyway, all that to say, we are a team player. If cuts need to be made, I will do what needs to be done, but I don't want you to look at that list and think, oh, we can just cut 3 positions. The number that you're seeing right now for this fiscal year, that position is vacant. It is not tied to a filled position. If you have any other questions, let me know.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for asking for my opinion as a member of the public, but I feel like you're asking me too late because you've already said what you wanted and already made your decisions. So I find it very offensive as a member of the public, since you technically work for me, to not take into account what the public has to say, because maybe they want something different. And to go through all that sales tax crap and say, well, this means this or this means that, that was poorly written and whatever. That's water under the bridge. There are things that could be made more efficient, and I would support those. There are things that are operating very leanly, and there are jobs that need to be done. There are a couple of, 2 or 3 years ago, you gave everybody an extra day off a month. And I'm in support of taking that back, because that's very costly to your management team in trying to fill those empty positions, because everybody gets an extra, I forget what you called it, like paid time off day just about every month. I don't know, I'm just kind of dumbfounded at the moment, but thanks for at least asking me.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Quincy Yaley, Community Development Department Director. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm not surprised by your direction that you've given to the CAO's office. I fully expected additional services that the county provides to be included in the save, no touch priorities. And so what I told my staff, and Liz and Roger were there, was to be flexible. Because the number that Community Development Department we're planning to do a layoffs would be 6 filled positions, so 6 bodies. And I told the staff the most important thing they needed to do is to be flexible, because we needed to get direction back from the board on other potential saves like recreation, youth centers, things like that, because that then could impact our department more. One of our staff members in a staff meeting said, you want us to do it lightning fast, you want us to do it with less people, and you want us to have be open more. And I said, I need you to quash that, because that is not in the spirit of what we're going to be going forward and do. Community development is totally committed to achieving your board's goals of 15% or more, as Supervisor Kirk referenced. And we're committed to working with our county stakeholders, the departments I mentioned earlier, on ways that we can consolidate, but consolidation will still mean cuts and will still mean impacts to services. We agree that growing our way out of the budget situation that we're in, it will be it's a long-term investment, it's the long play. A lot of times when we make reductions, especially in Community Development Department, and I looked at what the other departments had said, it can be difficult to quantify, because it'll say things like, well, they'll just take longer, versus something where it's like, we're not going to get the assessor's rollout. And so we are committed to being a team player. There are things that the county must do, such as getting the assessor rolls out, and we know that those cuts could come back to our department in a more significant way than was initially anticipated. And I just wanted to let you know that we are committed to working with you and our partners to try to find solutions where we can. Thanks.
Thank you. Going once, going twice on public comment. All right, we're closing public comment and bringing it back to the board. Again, I think you have direction on these items currently. And so maybe keep it to any of the stuff we just discussed and any new ideas there and look into the board. Supervisor Griefer?
I just have two things. One, I support the kind of quick discussion we had here about YSF. So if we want to give direction to kind of look at that, I'm okay with that. And then one thing I failed to mention the first time was that I also too support the fire being moved as we go through that process. Thank you.
Supervisor Kirk?
Yeah, and the idea wasn't necessarily just YSF, but like Supervisor Brandon brought up, all of our parks, all of our, Standard Park, all of them looking at our community partners and seeing if we can offload it. So the idea was, it's all on the table for discussion. I heard a majority for animal control. Can you confirm that?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear on my stance with animal control, since some folks went into it a little bit deeper. It can't be an increase, and I definitely want animal control to be at the table as far as I hear about the quality of life thing, and so my initial thought is leave animal control alone. But if we can get everybody at the table and see if there's a way to make it work and it's parked better underneath the sheriff, then that's what I'm looking for. But it can't cost more, and I want it to be a good thing for their quality of life. So that's my stance on animal control. As far as OES, I did not hear a majority. Is that clear?
Correct.
And I want to be. I hope our board is clear on what that means. I think the conversation about parking OES under the sheriff was the initial idea, but if we say leave it alone, my intention is, quite frankly, if it's not going to go under the sheriff, then it needs to report back to the board. My intention is to have Roger, or whoever the CAO is right now, it's Roger, to solely focus on budget and finance and working on trends and projections and the financial health of the organization moving forward. I don't necessarily need him busy with HR or with OES or with all these other things. And that was part of our conversation about bringing department head evals back to the board. So if we're going to say leave OES as is, I would like to bring that up and say, well, should we restructure it and bring it back to the board? That would be my recommendation, is not leave as is, but have it report back to the board. So that would be that item. I want to bring that up to see if there's support for that. Otherwise, it's fine. But we just need to be clear because the conversation's been about the sheriff. And then one thing I just want to speak, Steve, real quick, regarding the CRCs. When those things were created, the reason why I voted for them, because at first I was against them, but I was promised that they would not be a draw on the general fund. Now they're a $250,000 draw. So the things that they could do, they need to do, which is what they said they would do, which is go after those partners, whether it's the college or the schools, and get people renting those spaces. So my understanding is that is currently in the works. So I just want to be clear with you, as that was what needed to be done. And that's what I was hoping to have brought back very soon. Let me see if there's anything else. Regarding GIS and HR, you guys are clear from both closed session and this where we're headed? Okay. So, yeah, because I agreed with some GIS stuff and whatnot. And that is it for questions, clarification, but I do real quick want to bring back up the OES and make sure we're good with that. And then after that, I'll do my closing statements.
Supervisor Campbell, and then I'll.
Thank you.
If it's a quick comment.
I was just going to reply to a couple points, but I can get in line.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, go forward.
Yeah,
quick. Yeah.
I get it, and I'll say right now, I think you guys got lied to regarding the CRCs. There's no way that was ever going to break even. So, I mean, I appreciate your candor and honesty about why you voted that way, but the reality is that there's in a location, especially in Groveland. Now, I know Tuolumne gets used a little bit more, but that's a more localized place. But the reality is we're going to have to find ways to come up with incentives to use that, and you already did that by reducing the overall hourly rate. And then secondly, I believe CAL FIRE was supposed to have an office up there, or maybe it was the college supposed to have an office up there, and that fell through. And there's a number of things that have fallen through. And then I was just recently told that our own animal control requested to use it to serve the area up there, and they were denied. So maybe we need to look at the contract. Maybe that's a step, is look at the contract to make sure that we're operating within the scope of the contract. Okay. So I get totally where you're coming from on that. I had another point and I lost it. So.
Can I respond to that real quick? And,
all right.
Well, it's important. So,
but last one, because then I've got to go to Ryan.
So this is kind of like the juvenile hall situation all over again, where until our board got firm and basically said there's going to be some consequences, it wasn't until then we got a new chief. The chief got the message, he went out and fixed it. So my point is, I don't like being lied to. I don't like having numbers that are off. So go fix a problem that you said wasn't going to be there, or you're going to be held accountable. So that's where I'm headed.
Okay. All right. Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, I've tried to kind of think about this in terms of money. What, we're just talking about cuts. What are we going to cut? It's the not fun part of the job. I'm just a little hesitant to have some of these discussions about, incorporating different departments with each other, giving the park away, or give it whatever it was. The idea of having someone else control public parks in our county. I'm not really in favor of having a discussion about that now. But a couple of things that you did say, Supervisor Curry, I agree with, that your criteria for animal control, if it saves money and if it's better for the employees and the animals, those are two things that I agree completely with. If it comes back and it looks like there's a majority support to look into it, if it comes back that it's going to be a cost savings and that it's going to be better overall for staffing and for animals that we're taking care of, then you'll win me over. I'll vote for it if it looks like that's going to come down. The other thing that I wanted to mention is Supervisor Brandon, you brought up the grand jury, and I didn't even think about that. I looked at the cost. I agree. I think that should be exempt. It's another $1,700, and again, every little bit counts. But I think grand jury is not. It's not a county department per se. It's a service that is independent of the county that we are obligated to provide some resources to this so they can do their job. I don't know how the number was arrived at initially for what we help fund the grand jury, but it's at a very small amount. It's people that donate their time and their energy to providing a very critical function in our county, and it's our job to help support that. So I agree with Supervisor Brandon's position on that. I think that's it. Thank you.
Supervisor Holland? All good? All right. One thing I wanted to add, there was discussion about library, rec, and youth centers. I think I shared the same opinion as Supervisor Kirk. I don't want to see them cut, and so I throw my support there. I would like to see where there is an option that we can explore another entity taking it over, a CSD, for example, maybe taking a resiliency center over, I don't know. I think we should look at it, and I mean that to my district too, where those are those entities. OES was brought up. I'll say that I think we can look at it, but I would rather see OES as a department and success be moved to more of a regional model, because I think the planning, again, fire doesn't follow jurisdictions. Disasters amongst our neighbors are very similar to us. So if we want to shift that, I'm okay with leaving it, because I think it's been very effective in bringing in grants, supporting a lot of planning, bringing a lot of value. I would go the opposite way, rather than reclassify it into another office, which is elected, and that way kind of removes a bit of a check. I would rather move it to a regional body that we're made up of. With animal control, I agree also with Supervisor Campbell. By the same criteria as Supervisor Kirk set out, if it is substantially cheaper and it's good for the employees, we should consider it. I suspect, as long as they are at the table and we are helping to maybe convince that team too, or that it's a massive cost savings, that's what I'd like to see come back. So I'd be open to it, let's say in the exploring. If that makes sense, definitely explore it. If it seems like it's going to meet neither criteria, maybe there's better use of our time if that covers anything. So, all right. Do you have direction on the entire county and every department, Liz, and everything we do? Yes, Supervisor Griefer.
I just want to make sure that I probably skipped over that. I too am interested in what Supervisor Kirk said about at least considering options with OES. Okay. Not moving them specifically one place or another, but at least looking at it from a global position.
Right.
So it sounds like there's a majority to just have that conversation.
That's right. And same with animal control. That was unanimous, yeah. And just to circle back around while I'm here, heard consensus to add fire to the public safety wheel. No change to their existing services for next fiscal year, no reductions to rec and library, and then explore looking at partnerships for those services and perhaps the assets as well. Explore OES, moving OES someplace else, and explore animal control, also looking at moving them, but staying cost neutral. I assume the same for OES as well. And then working with the animal control staff to ensure that, quality of life, and they're good with it if we find a plan on that.
And to clarify on the OAS one, because I just want to make it really hard for you, I think it is a 2-1-2, because I don't think we should move that when it comes to the sheriff's office, even under circumstances. I am open to the board or potentially something that's cost savings or regional, but I don't want to necessarily do it to that. So I just want I know it'll explore all options. I just don't want it to be that majority support of moving to the sheriffs, just to be very clear on that. I think that is something that's good to.
Yeah, I mean, when we say explore, it's exploring options. I think there are some parameters around regionalizing. I think actually we are required to have something within our county, but that's the kind of stuff that we would explore.
Great, I appreciate that. Yep. And it's nothing against the sheriff, who I appreciate has been very supportive and working with a lot of folks in this too. So, all right, with that, I think we'll close out this item. Appreciate everybody attending, so that'll be the end of item 13. So we'll be back to the board here. We have pretty much what's left is Supervisor Holland. We have your board request. Right now is our policy, 5-minute item, quick pitch, maybe quick discussion, up or down vote whether to agendize in the future. So we'll move into item 18 if the board clerk can read the item.
Item number 18, consideration of directing staff to bring back an item to modify the operating hours of the Albert N. Francisco Building.
Great. Supervisor?
I'll keep it short like usual. I think we need to have longer hours for better service to the public, because a lot of our contractors, it's hard for them to come down 3 o'clock. It interrupts their day. They make less money, and it'd be convenient to be down there on a Friday as well. So that's my suggestion. Like all the rest of the county offices, be open normal business hours. Thanks.
Great. And do we have any estimate on cost impact, or if the department had any feedback on the item? I'm gonna say, I want to know what it's going to take to have a front desk person there for that extra amount, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for allowing me to speak and comment on this. To answer your question more directly, Supervisor Brandon, I can tell you the staff is already there. So it's not as though staff is not being paid or is not otherwise working on Fridays. So that time is there. It will require an adjustment of all staff schedule to accommodate an extra hour of the day. So we'll be taking approximately an extra 2 hours of staff time, one of those paid, of course, but one of those with the lunch hour break. They'll be extending their day by a couple of hours to be available for that. Some of the impacts to highlight would be, we currently have staff arrive anytime between 6:30 and 7 a.m. on a daily basis, and that is to facilitate contractor telephone calls, scheduling of inspections, being available for the questions that come up about the inspections. What's your ETA? Here's my conundrum with this project, the various communications that happen well before 8 a.m. So staff is available very early in the morning to make those happen. To adjust the hours as suggested would require staff come in later. So there will be less availability actually to our contractors in the morning. Another item I'd like to kind of highlight is that the Community Development Department or the ANF building, as I can speak to it, is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with the advent of the OpenGov permitting system. You can upload documents. We do not take paperwork at the office anymore. You don't have to stop work on a job site to come in. Paperwork is uploaded. It's all digital. The reviews are all digital. We've invested in the development of the software, the plan review software, the documentation to provide those digital services to make these things more expeditious, to use less staff time at the counter. We've used those Fridays to accommodate for various different training on those, development of those record types. We are currently discussing AI provisions with other companies to expedite plan review services. We've taken suggestions by some of your board members here on other programs. I've had spoken with other firms regarding services that are available We're comparing that with the already available electronic inspection services that we provide for various 8 different permit types. And essentially boiling down to the use of the space. We recognize that your board is looking for better service to the community. We are here to provide that service. Your board is looking to ensure that the proper attention is being given to all the projects that come through, that we're giving them the time they need in an expeditious manner, and doing everything we can to streamline services. That is 100% the goal of the Community Development Department. We take that very, very seriously. And we've made those adjustments to accommodate that in any way possible. But that being said, we will respect any direction that your board gives relative to our operating hours. We are here to serve the public in the way that you see fit. But please understand the reduction in services, the reduction in resources that we were all just discussing. Those will be very, very real in the Community Development Department. Those resources will be drastically cut. And to open for longer hours and expect more service from it will be very, very challenging, to say the least. If I'm available for any questions, if you might have them.
All right, thank you. So with this, if we have any burning questions, we can bring it back to the board, but generally we only do 5 minutes and then up or down. So if we wanted to do any brief comment, this is about potentially agendizing an item, but I think if there is a majority direction, since this is not like an ordinance change or anything, Sarah, is this something that can simply be directed?
Well, the agenda language actually says to bring an item back to modify the hours, so I think we just stay within the agenda language.
So it'd be to bring it back with more info.
Yes, so that was what I was going to say, is that I didn't feel comfortable just bringing it back and saying, we're going to do it, at the next meeting. Maybe having that, is it possible to have that option, or do we have to? Because if you look at, we just made a lot, we're talking about making a lot of cuts to these departments in the Francisco building, and then now we're asking them to have more front desk hours available. It's like something has to give somewhere. Mm-hmm. And without going into too much detail, there was definitely, I felt, very clear reasons why they set the hours the way they did, and I supported that when it was brought to the board before. So I'd need to have an understanding of what's the additional cost and what's the additional staff time that would be required, and then and then how are some of these cuts that we're talking about going to impact that to where it's almost seems kind of impossible to do all of it. You know what I mean? Like we can't be all things to all people with the limited amount of funding we have in that department. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about looking at it, having Quincy and Blossom look at how much hours they have, whether it's feasible, and then bringing that back for discussion and then approving it then or later? How would you structure it, Sarah? Or I'll ask you, how are you wanting to structure that? Just to do it up and down? Because I don't feel I have enough information to do that yet.
Well, our procedure was we have to present it, to bring it back, to discuss it, to vote on it.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought we're just presenting it to see if there's interest to bring it back for the next agenda to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't have no problem talking about it. It seems like we're trying to cram 6 pounds into a 5-pound bag.
No, we do it in this building though. Like we asked Justin and Kanan to be open Monday through Friday. We don't tell them they got to be closed, and we ask them to take the same reductions in staff. Uh-huh. So I don't see why it's, all the rest of our departments are open. We don't say, well, you get to be closed.
I think this is the conversation we need to have.
Yeah. And I'm only going to chime in because actually I wouldn't want to do this. I think we have a lot higher priority stuff to do right now. And I tend to be a fan that we should rely on scheduled appointments and online digital systems where they are. That, 1 day of extended walk-in hours makes great sense maybe. But to be honest, many of these offices do not need to be open 5 days a week. I'd rather let our employees focus on the work. So I would not be in support of bringing it back for that reason, but if there's a majority, do we, I think, just need direction on that? It sounds like there's at least 3, 4.
I'm never going to shy away from having a conversation about it, and it could be that the information says that it is feasible, but I just hope that there's a recognition here on the board that if we get a very clear answer from staff that it's not feasible, we take that to heart, and that's the case. So I'll support.
So we have a majority direction on that to staff. Do you have
we need to
anything?
vote?
Well, we do need public comment, and then just from a agenda timing perspective, All our magenta material is actually due tomorrow for next week, so I think that the earliest probably is the March 4th, to bring it back, okay?
Great. And thank you on the flag there. We'll open it up for public comment on this item if any members of the public would like to speak. Going once, going twice. All right, close public comment on item number 18. I believe that concludes all of the public portions of this meeting. We do have 14, 16, and 17 as well for closed session items. It is 5 o'clock. We've had a couple particularly complicated items today with a lot of the input for everything. How are we feeling about adjourning to a closed session and continuing this, or would we like to push this off a little bit? If everybody's okay with it, let's power through. How's that?
These will be too difficult.
Great.
To get through. Do we want to forego reports, or?
I think we should forego reports.
Okay, I agree.
So anybody's committed. All right, so if the clerk can read items 14, 16, and 17, then we'll open public comment on those three. Are we on the right side of the law? Okay, good.
Item number 14, closed session, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Authority Government Code, Section 54956.9D1, Shannon Francis Ramey versus Tuolumne County Superior Court, case number CV66785. Item number 16, closed session, public employee appointment, Authority Government Code, Section 54957B1, County Administrative Officer. Item number 17, closed session, public employee evaluation, Authority Government Code, Section 54957B1, County Administrator, County Council, Agricultural Commissioner / Air Pollution Controller / Animal Control Officer / Sealer of Weights and Measures, Community Development Department Director, Health and Human Service Agency Director, Chief Probation Officer, Public Defender, Public Works Director, Public Health Officer, and Recreation and Library Director.
Great, Nicole, thank you. We'll open this up for public comment on any of those three items. If anybody would like to speak, please step up to the podium. Going once, going twice. All right, and with that, we're going to adjourn into closed sessions. Is there a report out expected?
On number 14, we will have a report out.
Okay, before we all scatter, we got to come back and report out on 14 before. 14, you said closed session litigation? We're doing all three. Good. We're reconvening at 5:55. We should have waited to 5:55 on there. Is that lucky? Are you ready? Okay, great. We're reporting out on one item here and then a comment after that. This is for item 14, closed session, which is existing litigation. Supervisor Kirk moved and Supervisor Campbell seconded, and by a vote of 5-0, the board approved the county council to defend the county in the matter of Shannon Francis Ramey versus Tuolumne County et al. Tuolumne County Superior Court case number CV66785, a wrongful death lawsuit arising out of pedestrian accident on a county road. The board approved submittal of the matter for determination of insurance coverage and tender of defense to PRISM, and the board approved a retainer agreement with Carl Fezenden of the Porter Scott Law Firm to represent the county. We also had a general report out talking about future process for selection of a CAO. What the board is directed with HR is that we will be conducting an internal and external recruitment that's available to all candidates. We will be doing so after budget. That means after the end of June, and that in the meantime, it will be business as usual. So I think covered okay? I miss anything in that? All right, good. Well, meeting's adjourned at 5:56.